Action.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 400.
400. I'm here.
Kelvin Heimburg is here. That makes for an extra special night. I don't know if the 400 is actually that special, but glad we could be here. We're here in Emporia, Kansas, and we have an in-studio guest, the man, Kelvin Heimburg.
Yeah, it's just like the second time I've been interviewing with you in the past, 2 weeks.
That's true, but that was a different hotel in a different city with a different objective.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so just to place it for everybody, of course, we're here in Emporia, the DDO, the Dynamic Disc Open, taking place this week. Johnny V's back in the Milwaukee studio. I've got Kelvin here, and Kelvin, we've got a lot of things to cover. We'll try and put it all together here. For starters, congrats. Of course, played very well. You took down Jonesboro. We'll talk about that, of course. But also, you literally just arrived moments ago from the Eagles Crossing Skins match. Eagles Crossing, right?
Yep.
From the Skins match. Now, I know Scott Stokely made a post, and I don't know who else is making posts out there right now. Is this something that's shareable? Are we spoiling anything if we tell people how things went, or is that something we should probably hold off on?
I don't know. I feel like it's probably better watched than it is just told about here.
Okay.
I would say we'll hold off on that and they can experience it themselves. I want to say they're going to release the footage next Tuesday.
Oh.
That's generally the skin stuff gets released the Tuesday after it's filmed. So
okay.
So I'm assuming it's next Tuesday. I would tune into GK Pro's channel and check it out there.
Needless to say, a good time playing for an absurd amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty awesome getting to go out there for the first time. I rolled in this morning and played it blind for the skins match, but the property is beautiful. I've never been to a course with so many manufactured things as far as just all the tee pads are built up. There's stairways down, and there are these huge rocks, and there's grass in the woods. And I mean, it's still, the course isn't even all the foliage isn't green yet. I mean, it still needs a few weeks, but even without that, the course was pretty sweet, very challenging, and yeah, I'm excited to see what kind of events get held there in the future.
Are they concrete tee pads or turf tee pads?
They're concrete tee pads, and they're big.
Okay,
they're really big. You don't have to worry about running up from off the pad. There's really nothing to worry about as far as the tee pads go. If you need more room than what you're given, you should probably reevaluate how you're throwing the hole.
So they're James Conrad approved. Are they Paul Macbeth approved? Is there anything that might?
If he can make one of those tee pads shift, he can apply more force than anybody on the planet into the ground.
Okay, and I'll be the first to admit I have not watched. I know there was some stuff posted last year, and the hype continues about this facility.
Mm-hmm.
So I am excited. I don't watch a lot of post-production, but the skins match is probably something I will watch. Essentially, what you're saying though is all the hype around this course is warranted.
Yeah, I mean it's an incredible property. It's challenging, and I mean, granted, I've only had one run through, but I think even with multiple run throughs, there's still quite a few shots that are going to remain challenging. I don't think it's a course that people are going to go to and just all of a sudden they figured out the key to it and they're just going to always shoot double digit under pars. I don't really think that's possible. The OB in some places is just too tight, and then there's also some choices you have to make as far as risk reward go, whether or not you even really want to go for a hole or not. So I think there's some pretty good course design going on there. I think they're fully graded. I need at least one more run through where I actually I'm not just playing an event. It's one where I can kind of sit down and analyze it a little more. But I really enjoyed being out there. As I said, the aesthetic is incredible. I know they're not even done doing what they want to do to the course, but in its current state, it's incredible, and it's not really like any other disc golf venue that we have currently.
Is this a disc golf venue that would fit on the Pro Tour? Is this something that you could see, or is this more of a unique? It just has too many quirks about it to be on the Pro Tour, or what are your thoughts?
No, I don't think it's not quirky. It's not gimmicky. There's nothing crazy about it that makes it a fluky results. It's just you don't really see anywhere like, to go down a hill, normally you just walk down the hill, but here there's literally these massive concrete or rock steps that are built, so, like, and all the woods are seeded with grass, so, like, you have these magnificent stairways literally going down these hills. It's aesthetically pleasing, basically, and then the tee pads, when they're big, but they're kinda, like, built up off the ground, so I imagine they drain really well because there's not any water that's gonna be flowing from the areas around it onto them because they're built up a little bit off the ground. Um, so I really don't think you're ever gonna have any issues on those tee pads. I think they're literally designed to be, I mean, obviously, if it's raining really hard, they're gonna be wet, but they're not gonna flood. So
So with all that, I know you needed at least one more run through, but does it instantly make a top 10 list for you? Top
yeah, it's
5?
it's definitely one of the top 10 courses I've ever played.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's challenging, aesthetically pleasing, and enjoyable. So,
Is it really long?
um, yeah, I mean, I would say it's definitely long. It's not necessarily long in the sense of you need to like crush it on every hole, but par, I think they told me par was 70. So just by that nature, the course is going to be longer. Um, but there's a mix of holes. There's definitely some shots where you can open up on that are more like open and kind of remind you of like holes at Fox Run where they're kind of lined with white stakes on both sides. And then there's holes that are wooded the whole way. There's like wooded par fives where landing zones are small, and if you're not in it, you're going to be scrambling, and you're going to have to make some choices as to whether or not you want to get aggressive or not, because there is also OB tight on both sides of the fairway. So you kind of have to play golf sometimes.
Wow. All right. Well, it definitely sounds exciting. Make sure you guys check that out. GK Pro. Did you hear, to quickly to, to sidetrack yet again? Did you hear of the other news today that took place here in Emporia? And it's pretty big news and involves pretty big money.
No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Johnny, do you know what I'm talking about? Did you hear it?
I absolutely do, and I had some questions about that. So for those of you that don't know what's going on, the Eric hole, which is hole 16, early recognition is critical, out here at least, got aced by Matt Bell for a total of $25,000. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Kelvin or Terry, do you know any details about how this works? Is it a pay to throw? Is it an entire round? How do you qualify? Because I know there were a bunch of people behind him waiting to throw, and I heard rumblings of it splitting if somebody else were to hit it. But do you know the rules or any sort of anything behind this?
Yeah, I actually think I read about it in an email. I think you had to be a competitor to throw, and I do think it was just today. So I think you had to throw. They had like a time frame set up to where they had people there. I'm sure it was like filmed or whatnot, and just to like verify. I'm assuming that Eric didn't just put up 25,000. I'm sure there was just an insurance policy they pulled on the shot, but um, yeah, that's awesome that someone hit it. That's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing the video. I'm sure there is video, and that's sweet. That's awesome for Matt Bell. But yeah, I missed out on that opportunity today.
Yeah, I believe the first place I saw it was possibly Jordan Castro, and I don't know if he just shared it or if he had actually recorded it. But the one version I did see was from someone's phone. It appeared, and I'm hoping or guessing somebody else has it on even a higher quality, as you're saying. Insurance reasons, everything else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, I've seen throw off stuff like this before, and there's almost always an insurance policy pulled. So like literally, there's probably 2 cameras at least, and you have to like state your name and what you're throwing before you throw it, and yeah, because the insurance company has to kind of make sure it actually happened because they're about to have to shell out a lot of money. So
yeah, it was. I of course you'd have to be ecstatic about it, and then you start racing and thinking like, is that the most we've ever seen one on a shot? And I don't know that any more than that's ever been won. I know in Texas they ran a whole bunch of $25,000 aces. Even in, heck, to really date ourselves, 2001 Worlds, not 2001, 2002 Worlds in Houston. We had an opportunity when, was it 50 grand or was it 25,000? whatever it was, nobody
Yeah.
hit it.
No, yeah, nobody got it.
Yeah, at the Worlds, but yeah, that's crazy. 20.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So nice work, Matt Bell. And it's so, is there any irony? Everybody always thinks of him as this incredible putter, and that's how we always reference him. And then instead he throws in an A. It's not that 316's like.
I mean, he knew. I mean, it was there. That's what he was there to do, and he did it.
So now, from what you remember, you said everyone essentially just got to go out there and got one shot at it.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
just one shot. If you're a competitor, you could come in at a certain time frame and throw your shot, and if you hit it, like Matt, you get a big payday.
All right. Well, congratulations, Matt Bell. Johnny, do you have that? Is that handy anywhere? Do you see that? Well, if you find it, you can pull it up.
Yeah.
It's definitely going around the internet. Let's put it that way. And that's also in addition. I forget his name. The gentleman from Norway, I think, aced it yesterday in practice, and I know that's been kind of cycling around social media, but sounds like a day early.
Sounds like he missed out.
Okay, so let's get to the meat and the potatoes, which is this last weekend, Jonesboro Open. It's maybe you've had more success there. Of course, you've won there in the past, but that course, where does that course rank for you in terms of the challenge that it presents to you?
For me, I don't go to Jonesboro and think of challenging. Challenging is not the word I describe really with Jonesboro. I think it kind of lays out well for me, and that might be part of the reason why. I feel like all the holes are very attackable for me, and I'm not really scared of any hole out there. And this year the wind was a little more up than maybe the past couple years, but even with that, I still felt like it was always pretty attackable. And I definitely felt like I played a little sloppier there this year than I have in the past couple years, but that might have just been due to the wind, and maybe those feelings are just because of the wind and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think challenging is a word I really associate with that course.
Which is funny because most people that throw will say 300 to 400 wouldn't enjoy that nearly as much. I mean, there's just landing zones and birdie opportunities that aren't quite nearly as abundant.
Yeah.
When you're we'll say an average player out there.
Yeah, distance is definitely needed at Jonesboro. It's still a long course, but if you can throw far enough, it definitely opens up a ton of opportunities. As I said, this year was a little bit windier, I think, than the past couple years. So you definitely needed that distance to be able to throw like an overstable discard and kind of push through it and mitigate the effects of the wind.
Was there any hole that played particularly tough out there for the weekend where you walk away and you're like, man, I don't believe I did blank all 3 rounds, or 2 out of 3 rounds I did this on this hole? Is there any hole that sticks out?
Yeah, hole 6. I played that little island hole very poorly.
Oh.
Even par on the weekend, which that hole's right there. It's like literally sitting there right in front of you. There's no gimmicks to it. And I did not perform as well as I would have liked on that hole.
How did you arrive at even? Birdie, bogey, and a par, or what did you do?
Yep. Yeah. I parred at the first round, birdied at the second round, and bogeyed at the final round.
Okay.
So a little bit of everything, smorgasbord. I was never satisfied with what I got, so I just changed it up every round.
And it certainly is worth discussing because it was a very contentious point within the round. Contentious maybe is overstating it, but a dramatic point within the round was the hole before.
Hole 5.
Hole number 5. It's already a pretty tough hole.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you guys really have to decide if you're going for it and then hitting the line and getting there and not coming up short and everything else. What was the reaction on the tee when Paul had hit just below the basket and it rolled out? Do you recall anyone reacting abnormally?
I can't really recall what the reactions were on the card. I mean, it was obviously the worst break I've ever seen on that hole.
Okay.
He threw it perfect. You draw it up that way. He literally threw wasn't even a distance driver. I think it was might have been his Onyx. He threw like a fairway driver, and he threw it perfectly out to the right and straight, and it hyzered in just the way you imagine it, and it just like hit whatever 4 or 5 feet right of it, had a little skip into the advertising bucket they had beneath it, and had the worst reaction you could imagine. And yeah, the way that hole plays is if you go out of bounds off the tee, you have to go to the drop zone, and the drop zone is basically an instant bogey. So,
it looks like Johnny here on the spot's got it queued up for us.
Man,
Mm.
are you licensed to use this footage?
I actually am.
Right.
It was part of our almost contract.
I'm going to listen closely to hear if I hear you snickering or not.
I don't think
you definitely laughed.
Oh my God, that's the worst. I'm laughing now. That's the worst reaction possible. Alden looked disgusted.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, to throw a nearly perfect shot to get punished in that way is crazy. So what was the conversation as you guys were walking down? Because on the live broadcast, we heard some of it. And so we didn't really know, was Paul talking with you or Jeff Spring or others? What was the
Probably
conversation?
just a little bit of everything. It was just an open conversation. So you can really, without the way our rules are laid out, you have to have a waiver in order to force someone to a drop zone, unless it's like an island hole.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, where the basket isn't actually an island. The OB ends in the woods. It's actually kind of like a peninsula over there.
Okay.
You might think that, like, since there's that little creek, that it would just go all the way into infinity and there's basically an island and you're on a different piece of land to throw, but it actually closes off and you could play way deep through the woods and be perfectly fine. So yeah, it was really, the conversation was just, does the event have the waiver? And if they don't, he would have been able to take it up by the basket. And since they did, he had to take it from the drop zone. But we weren't sure at the time. That was the question, because there had been some rules issues on another hole during the weekend. So Paul was basically, he knew that, so he was just making sure that the rules were being played properly on hole 5 as well, and that all the proper paperwork had been done, because it's a stroke. It's a stroke difference.
Correct. And being concerned seems reasonable. It definitely can come across as a little bit challenging, and or for lack of a better term, it seems like it come across as passive aggressive or petty, even, just because we're in round 3. Like, if there were a problem, and if there was, and this was, I mean, it's been played this way literally hundreds of times by hundreds of people prior to that. But you're saying there was maybe some uncertainty about how it got played, hence that's why he would ask?
I think it's more of, you've probably never seen the hole played the way he played it. Like, no one's ever come in, hit the basket, and rolled OB. Almost every shot that ends up OB is pulled right, or it comes in short and it just hyzers into that little OB area. And at that point, like, it's almost the same result as going to the drop zone. So no one's ever really questioned it.
Okay.
But I think it's just one of those things where he had the worst break he could possibly get on the hole, and he knew that there were some rules issues on other holes earlier in the week, and it's just something he thought of because of the way that hole was playing, because it's a similar issue that came up on 16 is the hole I'm talking about. But there was rules issues on that hole earlier in the week, and it caused rulings to be played way different than anyone's ever played the hole in the past. So it was just, I think it was just making sure, because, like, it could have saved him a stroke, and that would have been the difference. Or it could have been, I mean, honestly, a lot of things change, whether, I mean, we're on hole 5 of 18 holes. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that changes throughout the entire course of a round. I mean, Paul could have just run away with it. It's possible anything could have happened. Alden could have won. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, who would think that way back on hole 4 or 5 during a tournament later, 18 or 14 holes, it would affect that? Okay, never mind. I'll quit referencing the weekend before. So yeah, and I called it on the broadcast. At that point, you could see he was upset and frustrated. Of course, that's terrible luck. And then he goes to the next hole. If I recall, he just flat out shanked it. if I
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah, he threw a pretty bad forehand.
Yeah, and then I think I had said at that point, it felt like he was on full tilt. And
Mhm.
sometimes we've seen Paul sometimes where he gets mad and he's just stepping up and then is jamming everything. Sometimes it's like the way he internalizes it and then
Yeah.
outwardly goes out and then starts destroying the course.
Mhm.
Sometimes that works for him. It clearly changed the entire dynamic of the round and of the card and ultimately of the day is what it felt like. But
Yeah.
woulda, coulda, shoulda. We also don't know, as you're saying, what that really means for the rest of the round.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, his mentality probably changed a little bit. He was definitely frustrated. I think anyone would be frustrated in that situation. I mean, especially, yeah, I mean, it was that awful luck after not getting a birdie on the hole prior where he had a really good drive. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, yeah, I mean, he just kind of, I don't know if he shorted his approach on 4 or if it rolled. I don't actually know how it ended up where it ended up, but he was in prime position on 4 to go 4 for 4, didn't get 4 for 4, and then he probably should have been 4 through 5, and then all of a sudden he's 2 through 5. So it's
Yeah.
like, um, I don't know. It's like very small differences made quite a bit of difference for his round.
Yeah, and then I was thinking as we went you guys we I was there with you. As you guys went into the playoff, you look at what happened on holes 1, 2, and 3, which we knew were the
Mhm.
first ones for the playoff,
Yeah.
and the fact, just looking back to him going birdie, 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 you had parred all of those. I mean, clearly when there's 18 holes, you realize there's always more holes to go if you start out a little bit slow,
Mhm.
but you're also talking about some of the best players in the world or the rest of the best players in the world all breathing down your neck at that point.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
I don't know. It's not too bad anymore. We do it all the time. Um, I I think in the field that we had at Jonesboro and how close, no one had really been shredding the course. So like it was super tight. And I think everyone knew that if they went out and shot a hot round, they could win the event. Like
Mhm.
anyone on the first like 2, even someone on third card could have won last weekend realistically because like no one was really scorching the course like we had seen in the past. And the course really wasn't that different. It was definitely a little windier, but yeah, the rounds just weren't as hot. So the scores were super bunched, and it ended up making for a really exciting finish for the viewers. I mean, there was 3 of us tied going into the last hole, but I think it's a little different when there's only a couple people in the race. But yeah, that tournament there was a lot of people in the race.
There was, and speak a little bit to, KJ getting hot, having the throw in on 12, and then it seems like he just got on fire there for a couple of holes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Kevin he threw it in on I guess it was 12,
12, yep.
which we didn't even know. Like we heard, but like we didn't know, and then none of the gallery was up there either. So it took one of the commentators, I think it was Perkins, up there saying it was in, and
Uh-huh.
then Kevin reacted, and the crowd went wild. But no, that was cool. That was just crazy though. I mean, it's a blind shot. Um, it's just one of those things where you just happen to blindly throw it in the exact right spot. Um, I did see the video. I think he still would have been in circle one probably even if it missed. Like it wasn't coming in that hot, so I think it was just like pretty perfect throw. And then after that, he parred 13, but he made circle two putts on 14 and 15, which at that point like those were both like elevated putts from circle two, and when you see people making those kind of putts, like both of those shots weren't like great or anything, those tee shots, but when someone's making putts from there, they kind of seem unbeatable, especially when there's 3 holes left
Mhm.
and you're 2 back, Paul's 3 back. Um, so yeah, I mean, Kevin was definitely in the driver's seat. It definitely wasn't looking great, but we did have the equalable 16th ahead of us, and Paul and I were able to capitalize on that. Kevin got in a little bit of trouble and made things much tighter with 2 to go.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the biggest takeaways is we're thinking all the momentum in the world is Kevin. I mean, he's driving that bus, I
Yeah.
think is what I said. And then you guys get to 16 and he just I don't want to say the unthinkable happens, but just like holy cow, things got just so much tighter And,
Yeah.
Perkins was over there looking at Paul's spot, and he reported back to us in live. He's like, I'm standing on Paul's lie. He's got nothing. Like,
Yeah.
he's got nothing. And that's how we all reported it.
Perkins
Paul
lied.
gets over there, plays around a little bit, and then what? I mean, this ridiculous shot.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really focused on Paul at all.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, for whatever reason, I had even forgotten that he was still right there. Honestly, when
The ultimate flex. Oh yeah,
I,
this Paul guy is still
no,
playing
like
with
I
us.
just somehow, I mean, like I knew I was tied with Kevin going into 14. I took the bogey, he took the birdie, and I just think that just like took all my focus, and like I just completely forgot that Paul was still playing good. And yeah, I had no clue Paul was tied with us until when we got up to, well, he birdied 17, but I didn't know he was tied as well until we got up to the 18th. I went and looked at the scoreboard, and I was like, oh, there's 3 of us tied. I was like, that's cool. But yeah. Yeah, so that was interesting.
And then obviously, and it's funny, I saw Joey's reaction live myself, and then that's been turned into a meme and a GIF and everything. But stepping up to 18, and what was going through your mind? Clearly, you just realized you were tied, but were you thinking like, "Hey, I'm out of any form of playoff if I don't at least birdie this"? Is that?
Yeah, I
Or,
mean, you got 3 of the best players in the world going into 18, and someone's gonna birdie it. Like one of the 3 of us is definitely gonna birdie it. We are like I had already seen Paul throw even before Paul threw. Like I knew I'm going for it.
Mhm.
Like there's no safe play. I'm not. I don't know. I feel like it would be awful to like play for par and then lose to a birdie. That'd be like I just strategically played myself out of it. So
Yeah.
so I knew I was going for it. I already knew what I was going to throw regardless of Paul's shot. But once he threw his tee shot, I mean it was. I mean, I knew I needed to put a good shot out there because he was in position to get the birdie. And as soon as he threw a shot, I'm sure that's what Kevin's thinking too. I need to get a birdie as well. So
And when you say going for it, though, I mean, if you weren't going for it, how would you throw this shot any differently? I mean, I feel like is it all one and the same or no?
I wouldn't have if I'm playing this hole for par, I take a fairway driver and I literally throw it straight down the hill towards like that first stake out of the ground. And then I'm gonna take like a driver that I'm gonna forehand towards the left gap to try to skip out. Like I'm basically throwing an overstable forehand at the left side, skipping
Okay.
back out into the open and then pitching up.
Okay, so it is a very different play.
Yeah, it's a different play. It's how I played the hole 2 years ago when I had
Okay.
a 2-stroke lead going into 18.
Okay.
So I throw to the bottom of the hill, I throw my forehand out, and then I pitch over to the basket. That's the play for par. If I want to go for birdie, I'd just send a distance driver.
Dynamite, one of our regular contributors, he found it interesting that in your interview with Nate, I believe, as you broke down 18, just like you did now, you said distance driver.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere in the back of your head to name or not name discs? Is it just not clearly important to you, or is it how you talk to? Is it the fan? Like what? Why is that?
I don't know. I've never really thought about that, but yeah, I mean, I threw a Star Destroyer. It was like a
Okay,
2020
quit with the
Tour
ads,
Series.
God,
See,
stop.
exactly. Now
No,
I'm calling an ad, but
no, I'm
like
kidding.
I don't know. I just regardless of what it is, like I mean, anyone can relate when I say distance driver. They know it's a fast disc. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess anyone on this podcast probably knows what a destroyer it is. It's like one of the most well-known, popular distance drivers on the market. So I don't know. I guess I've just always kind of like vaguely described my disc just to give an idea of the speed because some people might not know what you're talking about. But if you say fairway driver, they're like, oh, okay, it's something that goes far, but it's controllable.
And let me be very clear. I appreciate it. I love it. I think that's, I think I've already gone off on this rant 100 other times. It just naming the disc means even less because you might carry 5 destroyers that have
Mm-hmm.
various levels of how worn in or how beat they are. So when
Yeah.
you say your destroyer or a run from year to year might be totally different. So you say destroyer, and somebody that bought a Kelvin Heimburg Halo Destroyer last week, that might fly very different than the one they bought 3 years ago. or
Yeah.
whatever. So I for one really appreciate it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it by any means. It was something that Dana observed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you what it is if you really wanna know,
No,
but
I don't care.
it was a fast disc, wide rim.
I mean, right off those drives, we essentially knew that Paul and you could be then in position to
Yeah.
possibly get the birdie, and Kevin's fate was kind of sealed.
Yeah, Kevin did not get a clean drive off, kind of pulled it over there into the left side trees and kicked, but he was just so short. It was his real only hope was throwing himself somewhere into position where he could possibly throw it in. Um, so yeah, I'm not exactly sure on his second shot what he was trying to do. He did throw a distance driver pretty hard. I don't know exactly how far he was trying to get up there, but he had like awful footing too. He was like jumping over a creek and then planting on like a downslope or something.
Sure.
Like he had some crazy run up. So yeah, I mean after the tee shots I pretty much knew it was me and Paul or or whatnot. But yeah, I knew I had an easier shot than him though. I mean, I was past the little red
Yeah, the
stake and
250 marker.
yeah, I've thrown shots from up there before, so like I know that you're just looking at the basket. He was gonna have to throw a little bit more technical of a shot. Still a hyzer, but like if you pull it a little right, you get caught by a tree. You saw it off a little, you get caught early and that other stuff. So he still had to hit a gap. I had no gap to hit.
Yeah. I mean, I could get up and down 9 out of 10 times from where you were.
Well, that's good for you.
Just saying. So then, of course, well, you go a little bit deep. I mean, was that 18 feet, 20 feet?
Yeah, I think that's fair
And
estimate.
uh, explain, knowing that Paul's parked, he's for obviously he's almost arm's reach,
Hmm.
putting it in.
Yeah.
You know, this is to go into a playoff. On a scale of 1 to 10, how many nerves do you have? Like, how nervous are you? 1 to 10.
I don't think I was that nervous on that putt. I feel like I don't know what 10 being the most.
10 being like
Maybe
you're
like a 4 because
okay.
like I didn't that putt didn't seem like a problem. I
No,
don't know.
I'm
Like
not suggesting it was, but
if it was maybe like 6 feet farther, I think it maybe goes up to like a 6.8.
okay.
But like it was I was like 20 feet or in. I don't feel like I just didn't feel like I was gonna miss it. I mean, I had missed like one putt I felt like I should have made the entire day, and it was farther away and uphill. Like that was like as flat and open of a putt as you could ever ask for from 18 feet. So
And again, I think we just take for granted that most of you guys are automatic from inside the circle and roughly, circles edging in.
yeah,
It feels like you are automatic, and most of you are. However, you add into the fact that yes, this is absolutely, you miss that and you lose the whole tournament. You played
it's, em-
53 holes of golf.
it's embarrassing.
I don't know. I mean, there's wind. I,
Dude, that was like calm as far as the day went. Like
sure.
there was plenty of times where it was gusting way worse. Like that honestly just seemed like one of the easier putts I had during the day
I
because
wouldn't
like
say it would be embarrassing to miss that putt, but I would
no, it
say that
would.
people would say you choked. I think
It
that's
would be embarrassing. From where I threw the tee shot to not
you're
get a birdie, it
you're
would
right.
be embarrassing.
You're right.
I mean, with that tee shot,
with the tee
yes.
shot, it's
It would be
embarrassing to not
embarrassing.
get the birdie. But any given hole, that particular distance with that particular wind, I don't think that's an embarrassing putt to miss. But you are right with your particular drive. Added into that, I could easily see how you would be embarrassed to
Well,
miss that birdie.
it would have been embarrassing for me if I had missed it. I would have been embarrassed.
Okay, fair enough. Now, there's been a couple of playoffs, and then we hear about various rules, which is really interesting to me. What exactly is the rule for playoffs now? Because I feel like they've been slightly altered and officially designated here in the last year.
Yeah, so we basically just drew numbers out of a hat. There was just a 1 and a 2, and I guess Paul got a draw because he had the hot round. But
Okay.
regardless, Paul drew. There was just a 1 and a 2, and whatever was picked by Paul was the place in the order that he was
Okay.
going to tee. So he drew 1, so he got a tee first, which I think he wanted regardless.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think he was just volunteering for that regardless. And normally in the past, that's what he would have gotten just because he had shot the hot round.
Correct. Yep.
But now how it works is after that, and you have your order on the first hole, if you were to push the first hole, the order flips.
Yeah.
And so, like, Paul would have had the odd holes and I would have had the even holes. So I would have teed off first on hole 2. He would have teed first on hole 3, you know.
Correct.
So,
And it's largely what I was alluding to is it used to be often it was then decided by hot round, and then hot round goes first on hole 1. And then if you guys continue to push, then it's always that same person. And now it's been actually designated to alternate. But it's interesting that the first tee itself is also just random. So,
yeah, it's random. I don't know. I think I would choose to go first every time in that situation too.
Interesting. Why?
I think if you're confident in your abilities, you want to go first because you can apply pressure to the person behind you. If you feel good about throwing a good shot and you execute a good shot, now there's so much more pressure on that person behind you because they already know they have to.
Sure. Whereas,
as opposed to where Paul didn't throw a great shot and all of a sudden there was no pressure. Like I knew par was going to take me to the next hole.
Sure.
Okay. So like I almost had no pressure on that first playoff hole because he had played himself out of birdie.
Okay. What were you thinking when this well, here you are throwing, but I was going to say, what were you thinking when Paul threw? Here we're going to take a look at you throwing first. Well, you threw second, but
I threw second, yeah.
But we're going to watch it first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a distance driver, and that's laced. I mean,
yeah, it's about as good as you can do it. I would take that every time.
How much do you enjoy watching that shot?
Yeah, that's a sweet shot. Like, I'm just really glad I didn't have to putt, you know?
I mean, so we'll
let him watch it again. I mean,
yeah, let's watch it again.
No.
Yeah, can you draw it up any better than that, Terry?
No. I mean, I remember watching it live and just like, okay, well, yeah, that's it. That is outside of a miracle shot, and we didn't know exactly how Paul's. I'll admit, I thought Paul's was worse than it actually was, because I think about where you were during the round, and you were way off to the left, correct?
Yeah, I threw a worse shot.
Yours was
Paul.
way worse.
Well, I threw a worse shot than him, so I had a worse result.
Okay, well, that doesn't always happen. Number 5, for instance.
That's true. That's true.
So, yeah, and of course he would have had to throw it in. Now, as you guys walked away, I think we could even see it there. He turned to you and he said, "Nice shot." It looked like.
I honestly don't remember. I was in a different
like,
headspace.
Don't talk to me.
No, it wasn't anything with that. I think I was just still taking in the fact that I just parked it. Like I don't honestly, I don't remember him saying something. He probably did. It definitely looks like he did, but I don't have memory of what he said.
Yeah, well,
he could have said something mean to me for all I know.
Lucky bastard or something like that. Yeah, because that would have been. When he threw his shot, what was his immediate reaction?
Yeah, you could see he was obviously frustrated. I mean, I was kind of zoned in my own place. I didn't actually really intently watch his tee shot. Like I was kind of zoned out, but he definitely had like an immediate reaction where he was upset with something. He actually did say something about the tee pad while I was walking up. I'm pretty sure he said something to me, and I didn't really pay much attention to it because
you had your own business to take care of. I had
my own stuff to deal with, and honestly, tee pads don't normally affect me quite as much because the bottom of my shoes are almost treadless and everyone else has these like aggressive treads. So yeah, I mean, from like if you watch the footage of him, like the turf does come loose and it does definitely buckle. Like you can literally see it go from like flat to bunched up. So something definitely happened. He definitely thinks it affected his shot, and it probably did. I mean, like when your footing gets messed up, like it's really hard to throw a good shot.
And that's 4 485, 470, something like that. I think the hole is
Yeah,
470 or
the
something like
hole's
that.
the hole's 470, but it kind of requires like a pretty much a line drive. You can't just like throw a big hyzer. There's trees on the right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to throw relatively straight or kind of have to draw it from left to right and turn it into the green a little bit. Um, it always seems like it plays a little farther than 470. I don't know. I think it just might be because the right side's not open and you kind of have to throw it a little straighter. And there's always seems to be a little bit of wind coming at you on the tee as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a headwind there. Not a, and this isn't obviously a bash on Paul, but segment at all, but not his best effort on the approach. I mean, he came up short, which is like literally the one thing you can't do when you're parked.
Yeah, I mean,
did you get, what was let me rephrase it then. What probability did you give him of possibly throwing it in once you saw where he was at? Were you thinking, oh, there's a 10% chance of this going in yet? Or not so
no, I
much?
still think it's lower than 10%.
Okay.
Like, could Paul do it? Yeah, anyone could still have thrown it in from there.
Sure.
Like, he was able to, like, he had a clean line,
Mm-hmm.
so like anyone could have thrown it in. But like the odds with the wind kind of coming down the hill, there was like a little bit of a ceiling you had to deal with, but um, it the odds are still low. You're basically having to throw something pretty hard at the basket, which means you're gonna have to center it up. Like anything
Yeah.
off to the side a little isn't gonna stick. So it would have required a perfect shot, and that's just really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, you already used. If anyone was going to use a perfect shot on that hole, you already exhausted it. You're like, "Hey, I got this. I'll do
I
it on the drive."
Yeah, I
The
took
better time.
I took it.
You took the perfect shot potion,
Mhm.
and it was all yours.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that is kind of one of your larger, more significant wins that you've picked up in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the first stroke play win I've had since Jonesboro at the end of 2020 when it got postponed to
Mm-hmm.
the end of the year in 2020. I won match play last year. I won a silver series last year. I tied for the win at Ledgestone, but
Mm-hmm.
that like doesn't even count. But I got the trophy. I got the trophy. So
Did Rick leave? Is that what happened, or did you guys
no, we
flip a
played off
coin?
for it. We played off for it at Idlewild.
Okay.
Originally it was just supposed to be whoever did better at the tournament,
Uh-huh.
but we actually ended up we played a round. It's filmed on Gatekeeper's channel.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I beat Rick in that round. So
How many did you beat him by?
I think just like one or two. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. I had so many strokes after the front nine though. So
Okay. So you took home the trophy there.
yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
In the interview, I think a lot of people noticed in this particular close-up shot that you look maybe a little more emotional than we've seen you in the past. Would you?
Yeah, probably.
Would you characterize that as true? I mean, you just won a big event, and you're pretty well known for being stone-faced. We'll say that's what a lot of people have judged you as. Did this event mean more than other Elite Series wins?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. This one probably felt better than anything else I've won in the past, just because it's been a while. It's just been a while where, yeah, I've had to come down the stretch and win. I don't know, and I've just seen other people win so many times in the past year and a half. So,
and you've been near the top. Like you've had your
that's why I've had to watch it.
I know
that's the problem.
You've had the opportunities.
On the lead card he's on the lead card with the with.
Well, I mean,
you
could be like Zach Melton, get done way early and hang out with somebody who wins.
Yeah, exactly. I could be, but instead I just like put myself there all the time, and I hadn't really closed the deal in a while. So, or at least not at an event of that magnitude. So, because really at the end, I don't know. It's like those are kind of the events I'm here to play, and I do care about. It's like the Elite Series events and the majors. Like those are what I'm really playing to win. Everything else is that I play. It's either because I want to see some friends there, or like I'm just trying to fill a little bit of time. But
You're
like
bored.
it's not that I'm bored. It's just like your local A tier. It's like if I'm playing it, it's like because I'm seeing some friends there, or I really enjoy the course at this point. Like it's not. I play enough disc golf throughout the year to where those aren't really the big events for me anymore, and they're just more laid back, and I don't really take them as serious, and they're just more fun. I kind of categorize the Silver Series in the same light because they just, to me, they don't feel the same. And regardless of if every single good player is still there, the stakes are different. Like we're not playing for the same title. I don't know. Even if the field's the same, the stakes are different, so it just feels different.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense. The ones you gear up for most are our biggest tournaments, and those are the ones that you want and you need, and everything else, for lack of a better term, is filler for one reason or another. And that does make perfect sense.
So who hands Madison Walker her pink slip? I mean, she's walked with you multiple times. You haven't won. Melton shows up. Suddenly you're winning Elite Series events. Does Zach just deliver that to her and say you can't follow Vinny anymore?
She get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Zach's the only one that could deliver that.
Okay. All right.
And you would think I would know this, but I don't off the top of my head. Was that way back in 2019? You opened and closed LVC and Hall of Fame. Was that? No, was that?
Yeah, that's 2019. 2019, wow. I won LVC and Hall of Fame.
Because you opened and you closed the NT that year.
Yep.
And it's honestly, I mean, I guess when you say it's been a little while, and I'm thinking about when it was, I feel like that was just like last year, or maybe not last year, but definitely doesn't feel like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you've been losing more than you've been winning.
Well, that's everybody on tour. No one has a winning record on tour. Like when you actually look at tour events, nobody has a winning record. Like maybe Dickerson does, but that's because he goes and plays a bunch of other smaller events that he wins every single one of. So his win percent might be above 50, but that's not his win percentage on tour.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, that was 2019. 2020, I got a couple pro tours.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, I got Memorial and Jonesboro.
Yep.
And then 2021, I got the fake one at Ledgestone and match play, which is just different format. It didn't really feel the same. Like the whole, I don't know. I think it might just be because we don't really ever play match play, but it just didn't feel the same.
You got the All-Star event too, buddy. Right?
Okay, that definitely doesn't count.
Okay. I mean, fun and big, decent paycheck. So I guess
I'll say this: the All-Star event was a great finish. I mean, it felt exciting. I know, obviously, in the hindsight, you look at it and kind of shrug your shoulders and roll your eyes at it. But I mean, with what Eagle had done and what you had done, like that felt like an exciting event to finish up.
Yeah, no, it was. I think the ending was exciting, and it probably was fun to watch. But as far as like me in 20 years looking back at what I've accomplished in disc golf, I don't think that event comes up.
So I guess the trend has almost been a little bit of bookending. You did that in 2019, opened LVC, closed out, almost at the end of the year with the Hall of Fame. 2020, you got Memorial at the beginning of the year, and then we had Jonesboro at the very end of the year. Another bookend scenario. Last year, like you said, you didn't open a book.
Forgot how to read.
You forgot how to read, so to speak. So yeah, bookending or maybe a little more consistency throughout.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I hope I get more wins. I mean, that's obviously what I'm out here trying to do. But I mean, every week is super competitive, as you can see, and like it really doesn't. I mean, it's like one bad kick can really be the difference. So like I'm putting myself up there and giving myself the chance all the time. So that's really all I can truly ask for. And as long as I keep doing that, I know I will win sometimes. Hopefully more often than not. But I get that the field is super competitive, and you have to play great pretty much every round now to win.
Yeah, and let's touch on this weekend quick, and then we'll let you go.
Well, I want to ask one question before we get into this weekend real quick regarding this year and winning. This is a contract year for you, as everyone is kind of mentioning. This is your supposedly, I mean, what we've heard, your final year Yeah, your final year of your contract with Innova right now. Is there any extra pressure on you, whether internally or externally, to perform? To think, or do you feel like no matter how you perform, as long as it's up to, we'll say, your previous few year standards, that you're going to come away in the off season well paid, we'll say. I mean, because we've seen some of the contracts that people are getting, whether it's Paul or Ricky or Paige, Kona. I mean, we're seeing high six figures in a lot of these. Do you foresee yourself in that club?
Yeah. And where's your helicopter too?
Yeah.
I don't need a helicopter. Helicopter Rick can keep his helicopters.
I want to see Spider Kelvin. Spider Kelvin with like the two front wheels and the one back. I want Kelvin to roll up on a spider.
No. It seems like a Florida vehicle.
Oh yeah,
Florida-based vehicle.
I don't even know if it's a Florida vehicle.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, is there any pressure? I mean, are you concerned at all?
No, I'm not really concerned. My goals for events are no different now than they were before. At some point those talks definitely have to start happening where I start figuring out what I'm doing moving forward. It definitely doesn't hurt to be winning, and it definitely doesn't hurt to, even when you're not winning, be close to winning, because you're still in the spotlight and people are seeing you, and that's good for you and your sponsors. So I think I'm doing a pretty good job as far as competing right now. I mean, if I can continue on competing at the level I am and I have at the beginning of this year, I feel pretty good about my off season and contract negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, when you're always in the conversation for one of the top 4 or 5 highest rated players in the world, it feels like. And we also know Ricky, Paul, Chris Dickerson all have, lengthy contracts that they're locked into. Eagle, it seems like you're the next guy to make sure, and maybe you're getting paid.
Maybe.
Are you gonna?
No one knows.
How do you? Yeah. How does that?
Are you going to be doing your own contract negotiations, or are you going to let your agent,
no,
Terry Miller, deal with that?
I'll be a part of it, but I am working with Beacon Sports Management. They've really handled most of my contract stuff, really with everyone that I'm dealing with at this point. Not just like Innova, but all my secondary sponsors as well. They pretty much handle all that, and they've done a really, really great job. And they've made my relationships easier to manage, with all of my other sponsors, Innova, Millennium, Grip, VII. So Light Factory is my retail sponsor. Hashtag ad.
Yeah, we got all those in there now. Right now we got to flag our whole podcast. No, we're seriously glad you did get them in there. And so moving into this weekend, 2 rounds. First you're going to play Jonesboro, and then you'll play 2 rounds at Country Club, if I recall.
Yep.
You were saying you're not fully prepped just yet. Is that a fair statement? What do you feel like you need to do to get prepped for this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be fully prepped for this weekend. Okay. I rolled into town right before this podcast. They made changes to Country Club. We have an entire new course out at Jones Park. So I have to go and play both of them tomorrow is kind of my objective. So I am waking up at the crack of dawn to play one of them, and actually have some other. I think I'm going to be on Instagram Live on Innova's channel sometime around lunch. I think maybe 11-ish Central Time if you want to tune into that. And then after that, I will be going to play the other course just so I can get one look at both of them. And then after that, I'll probably basically be going to bed because I have the first MPOT time.
So you are busy and you're a little crunched for time.
Yeah. I'm definitely. I got a lot on my plate tomorrow. I'm gonna have to find some time to eat. I don't know where that's gonna be, but got to fit 3 meals in somehow.
Are you at all worried about? I mean, I walked Jones today. Clearly, it's lengthy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can't make a good judgment. I was gonna say I feel like it's pretty straightforward, but that's just what I looked at as I walked around. You don't have to stress too much about Country Club. You're familiar with the layout.
I am familiar. I heard there's changes to it though, so I'd like to at least get out there at the very least and see the changes to the course layout. But I definitely do need to go see the Jones Supreme layout,
Yeah.
or at least one time. Yeah, I don't really have high expectations going in the week because normally I feel like I want to get multiple practice rounds in and kind of have a pretty dialed game plan. I feel like that's especially helpful when you're going to have kind of inclement weather, which it sounds like from what I've heard we're supposed to have. I heard some pretty bad wind and possibly rain. So
the first 2
yeah,
days.
I don't have expectations of this being the best event I play this year, but we're gonna play it, and it's gonna be a good warm up for the real event that's in this town, which is later in the year, end of August, early September, when the World Championships returns. We'll be playing the same courses, to my knowledge, and this event kind of just to me is the warm up / practice, see how the courses play tournament wise, so I can be ready for Worlds come fall.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely on the minds of a lot of people, even from a production standpoint, from a live production standpoint. That was a piece that was thrown out today was, hey, this is also, yes, it's an incredible event with a long-standing history with all these great players and everything else. This is also, from our production standpoint, a warm-up and practice for the Worlds as well. And real quick, I am looking at I just pulled up Emporia on weather.com showing AM thunderstorms on Thursday. And again, it's like everywhere else. Like I always say, I'll believe the weather when I'm in it, is what I like to say. But
that's great. It says AM showers. That's when I tee off
on Thursday, and then it says PM wind and showers and thunderstorms on Friday, which is probably when you'll tee off again.
I don't know. I mean, literally, it's probably what's the temperatures?
80 to 75 on Thursday and 80 on Friday. Saturday just says partly cloudy and wind, 21 miles an hour. 23 mile an hour on Friday. As high of 68, so that's a little bit cooler. And then beautiful on Sunday, 14 mile an hour winds, 72 degrees in most of Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Like when I tee off, it's probably gonna be like 65 degrees and raining. So that honestly sounds awful. Sounds like my nightmare. But yeah, we'll try to deal with it as best we can. I actually get to play with my bud Zach Melton.
Okay. Him, Chris Clemens, and who else is on the card? Oh, Nicholas Antala. Okay.
Yep. I mean, we got a pretty good card, but we don't have good weather apparently. So
well, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Any other obligations this week that you'll have?
As I said, I got to figure out when to feed myself tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. But I mean, once play gets started and whatnot, is there anything else that you're worried about? Are you gonna have stuff at the block party, that kind of thing, or do you have anything else you have to do?
I don't have anything else that I need to do this week. So I just have to figure out how to play the courses, and that's it. That's it. That's all I got planned for the week. I'm gonna learn them tomorrow and play the tournament in the next 4 days.
Where do you go after this?
I don't know yet. I have some time off. I know that much.
Yeah,
I think my next event is OTB. I don't think I'm playing anything until OTB opens. So
okay,
I don't know if that's 2 weeks off or 3 weeks off. I'm not really.
That
sure.
would be 2 because I think we finish on the whatever, and then May 8th and 9th next weekend is Mother's Day weekend, and then the 14th and 15th weekend, and then so that's Santa Cruz Masters Cup. The 8th and 9th, is that the challenge at Goat Hill, or I don't even know what's going on. I don't recall.
There's nothing on UDisc.
And then the weekend after that is OTB, the 20th through the 22nd. So potentially 2 weeks to get yourself out to California.
Yeah. I don't really know exactly how I'm going to break up that trip. Hopefully get to see some cool stuff out west. But I don't know. That's probably what I'll be doing in some of my downtime this week, is kind of planning how I'm going to break up that trip out to California. Because I probably for the first time, I kind of have a decent bit of time to actually break that travel up. So I think that'll be a pretty fun week and a half or 2 weeks to get out there, and then I'm excited to return to Stockton. I enjoyed the course out there last time. Curious to see if they change anything, but I really enjoyed it out there, so that'll be a good one after this.
All right. And they're calling for it. They want Kelvin on the late night podcast. So maybe if you have a nice late afternoon and I'm doing some shows, you're welcome back here.
I don't know. I think
later in the week.
I mean, I might have all these early tee times because I'm teeing off early round 1. Weather's bad. I'm not going to know the courses as well as normal.
Yeah.
Well,
you'll be fine.
And traditionally, Terry has done his podcast from the Bourbon Cowboy, so you're going to have to go to the Bourbon Cowboy to do the podcast with Terry.
Man, that sounds
wild.
Yeah.
All right, Kelvin, anything you want to say to everyone? Run through your sponsors again. Do that and how people can support and follow you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Innova, Millennium, Flight Factory, Grip, and VII. You can go check out any of their websites and probably find something Calvin related. But yeah, I'd like to thank all of them. They make this possible for me. And yeah, I think they did. Innova drop some commemorative Jonesboro Wind destroyers earlier today. They're probably already gone because
they were. I tried to get
almost everything on the factory store sells out in 10 minutes. So it's too late for that. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys tuning in and watching. And anyone who has purchased any destroyers or any other Calvin gear, I also really do appreciate that. So yeah, thank you all. You all make this possible.
Is there a special Calvin whale sack?
Yes, there is. Yeah, there is a Calvin whale sack. I definitely dropped the ball. Sorry, Tina.
But I got you. Calvin whale sacks as well. Make sure to check them out.
There are Calvin whale sacks on the whale sacks website.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you go because I know you've got a pretty busy day tomorrow.
Yep.
So seriously, thank you for joining. How far was the drive from Eagles Crossing to here?
It was 4.5. I want to say. Yeah, it was 4.5. It's a little outside of St. Louis, so yeah, 4.5. It was about 5 to get there from Jonesboro, and then 4.5 here. So
okay, so not too far out of the way then.
Not too far. 2.5 hour ride, and maybe 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
because I think it was like 7-ish to get here.
Oh, okay. I thought I had seen 9, so that. But
no,
either way.
Think so.
All right. Anything?
I don't have anything else. Thank you for having me.
All right.
And maybe I'll try to win sometime soon again. So I'll be back.
You're welcome, regardless. But winning helps.
I don't know. That's the only time I get invited to see Johnny is when I win.
That's true. That's not much of a prize either.
He must have high standards because you invite me even when I don't.
That's true.
But those are different. But yeah,
all right, pal.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Hope to be back sometime soon.
Calvin's out. All right, I'm going to move into that seat.
You can stay right where you are, Ter. Ter, why don't you stay right where you are? Watch this. Watch this.
I don't know, but I don't like this.
No, you're fine.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Well, Terry, watch this.
All right. You can make an adjustment. Look at that. By the it doesn't matter. Sure. Thank you, buddy. All right. So Calvin Heimburg giving us some updates and insight tonight. Really appreciate that. Let me move this mic here, Johnny. That's probably all right. Yeah, he's busy. I mean, very, very safe to say he's busy. And
you lost your mic.
What's that?
Mic cut.
That's weird.
Oh, that's back now.
All right. Sorry about that. Is that everything all good to go?
Yep.
I'll just say I do not envy the day he has tomorrow.
That's the issue when you win. I mean, you have to obviously with not the whole checking out the courses, but all the other obligations that you have, the Innova Instagram that he's going to have to do, and being a winner in general, he got to do the skins. If he hadn't had to do the skins, he could have got here a day earlier and practiced a little bit today. And let me put it this way. I'm thinking we might not get 4 rounds in on this tournament anyway.
Yeah, I understand that. I know that
it's the Midwest. It's the DDO, formerly the GBO. They just have a knack for this. Like it feels. I mean, it's Kansas.
Inclement weather.
It's Kansas
but inclement weather.
It's Kansas in April/May. It's it's bound. We're bound to get every few years a round at this event gets canceled. That's just how it works. Everyone, I think, has just come to realize that it has nothing to do with, the tournament. It has nothing to do with, it's just the nature of nature. So, I hope we get all 4 rounds in, because there's nothing worse for us in the control room than a lightning delay where we have to sit there and wait for 4 hours until someone makes a decision. That's the worst. Like, let's make the decision right away. But we'll see. So it's going to be a good one.
I mean, of course, I guess maybe that's one of the advantages, and we saw this unfold a couple years ago more than once, but that's one of the advantages to potentially having 4 rounds scheduled. And so if something were to either get delayed or postponed or whatever the case might be, then we have the opportunity that, assuming it's not Sunday where the inclement weather is, there could still get 3 rounds could get completed. And we don't want to start rumors or get too far ahead of ourselves here either. But yes, keeping an eye on the weather is something that's worthwhile when you're here and you're leading into the tournament. That's certainly fair to say. So, all right, Johnny. Well, why don't either you could bring it up, or I could, if I could press some buttons here, I might be able to bring it up too. But let's talk just a little bit, very quickly, about the rest of the MPO action at Jonesboro, and then we'll turn around and we could talk about the FPO at Jonesboro.
Do you want to quickly see the Matt Bell ace? Have you seen it?
I have seen it, but let's show it to the world. Definitely. Right. This is what we heard is a $25,000. John Nicholson is also, I think he may have been the one that recorded it. Yes, I see it's now put out there. A $25,000 ace. There's Jordan Castro. I can't quite see who's all in there. Whoever walked off there first a moment ago was more pumped. There's Barsby, right? That's the most of the reactions I've seen, honestly. I saw it go in.
I don't know if I've ever seen Matt Bell without a hat on. That was the most shocking thing to me.
Well, congratulations, Matt Bell. That's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, what a shot! What timing to have that shot. I mean, $25,000 is nothing to scoff at, and I'm sure it'll go miles for his touring life.
Pretty incredible. Only because it's being spammed on the board.
I'll
address it quick. I was just gonna say I'll just address it because I have no problem too. John, I don't think that Calvin does.
Not me. Other John. John on the board.
Don't know indefinitely. Yeah, John on the board. I don't believe so. And John Van Derzen nor myself smoke weed. So how this is like relevant, why you're spamming the message board, but hopefully that at least that's our most polite way to just, you're good. We got you answered. All right. So simmer down, for goodness sakes. Anyway, so awesome. Congrats, Matt Bell. Love it. Now let's jump over to Jonesboro, the remainder of the MPO action. Although I know we got a really great breakdown from, breakdown a moment ago from Calvin. I was thinking about the top 3, about how it was him and Kevin McBeth going into the fight. Like, you don't scenario, then 3 guys tied going into this incredibly challenging par 4, 3 guys tied going into the final hole. It was absolutely craziness to watch. So breakdown, what else do we see? We'll say in the top 10, Johnny.
In the top 10, Chris Dickerson, no surprise, coming in 4th. Just couldn't quite, he shot a 10 down that final round. Wait, am I looking at the final round? Yes, I am looking at the final round. He shot a 10 down that final round to kind of boost himself up there. Gannon Burr, who is continuing to prove that he's not just a flash in the pan young kid, shot a 9 under on that final round to get to 22 for 5th place. Matty O, Joel Freeman, Alden Harris, as well as Mr. Daddy himself, not Emmer Daddy, Lizotte Daddy. Simon Lizotte had a phenomenal second round that jumped him up at one point into the lead, although he had gone through a lot more holes than some other people. And he unfortunately he didn't have the best final round. It was only a 6 down. it wasn't enough to keep him in contention to win. He was already a few strokes behind the leaders, but a respectable showing from Simon, which we haven't seen in quite a few months, if not year or two for Simon. He's had his mind in other places. So a very good showing for Simon Lizotte. Ricky Wysocki, Thomas Gilbert, and Ezra Aderhold all pushing up there into the top 10. So congratulations to everybody there. It's funny because Jonesboro particularly feels like it favors your big throwers. Like, I know a lot of our courses, it never hurts to be able to throw far, but Jonesboro seems like it's one of those courses where it definitely advantages you to throw far. So
yeah, and and that's kind of what I was thinking about in talking to Calvin about it. Somebody that throws, we'll just say your average golfers, not your average top tier professionals, but your average golfer that's throwing 3-ish to maybe 400 and somewhere in between. That you're not scoring nearly as well unless you make literally every putt inside the circle. Then you, or maybe you're perfect from circle 2. But I feel like that course would be far less enjoyable, and that's because I say this all the time. The course isn't designed for 300-foot throwers. If you go out there and say, "Well, there's just not a lot of scoring opportunities," yeah, not if that's where your skill sets are. And I think there's even a sign. Isn't there a sign at the beginning of that course? Like we've seen at a number of others. I think of Texas last year. I think we saw a similar sign that's like, this is a high level course designed for high level players and professionals. This is not a walk in the park. This isn't a city park course. So yeah, very, very cool to see so many skills on display. Shot shaping not quite at a premium as we, found clearly over at Jackson. The rough is just very different, longer grass. There's certainly a number of trees to still get caught up in, but you're not throwing quite the tunnel shots, of course, that you found. Now you still have gaps to hit, and you obviously have to get to certain landing zones, but not the requirement that we saw from WR Jackson for sure.
The big news the other big news in MPO was that final round, Eagle McMahon dropping out, due to a shoulder injury. It sounds like he had said that his shoulder had popped out or dislocated, and I don't exactly know, what the details are of that, but it sounds like he's going to take a break, some more. The way it sounds, I have no faith that we'll see Eagle maybe for the rest of the year, but maybe not till Worlds. If he can get his body together.
Yeah, I mean he posted almost immediately after withdrawing, and then he posted again saying, excuse me, just saying, "Hey guys, I've got a plan in place. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for the support. Yeah, I'm gonna go, see some professionals and continue with my treatment plan." So we wish him the best. I think he literally just maybe even made a post today too, that I started to read and then got sidetracked from, something about having to withdraw. And yeah, painful to watch. And I know he was in the booth with me, and I know that it was a different, slightly different scenario, but not, you know, Nate Doss, when he withdrew from the first and only tournament he's ever had to withdraw from, was at the Memorial a number of years ago. And to see somebody who competes at that level and can win on any given weekend, and then to see them have to physically remove themselves, walk off of the course for any injury, anything injury related, is just, it's really painful to witness that. And yeah, I can't imagine, especially when you're talking about guys that could be or should be or possibly are winning an event. Now Eagle obviously had his struggles, but man, terrible to see. And let's just hope that at some point he has a full recovery, and that may or may not ever happen. I mean, we always know with any injury or set of injuries, he may never be back to 100%, or he may only be 85% of what he was a year or two ago. I mean, that's just, unfortunately, that's a possibility. So,
and that's what, there's two things. One, that's what scares me about not just Eagle, but some of our other players that are throwing forehand. We've heard Ricky is having issues, throwing forehand. Paul having issues throwing forehand. Eagle, Simon, like these are all people that throw with like extreme power. It makes you have to wonder if someone like, and I'll just throw them out there, Gannon Burr, is looking at this and going, maybe I'll only throw forehands when I absolutely need to, as opposed to, I can work on that. James Conrad doesn't seem to be having any elbow or shoulder issues. So it makes me scared for some of the future of our players with, as long as these courses are getting and the power that they're throwing with, that there is going to be a reckoning possibly in the next 5 to 10 years of these power forehand throwers. And it also makes me think how amazing it is for Scott Stokely, who still throws a power forehand as far as any of these guys, but it seems like has never once had a shoulder or elbow issue.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's incredible that he can do that. And two, we don't know for sure that he's never had a shoulder or elbow issue. And three, maybe most importantly, he also took a decade or so off.
Mm-hmm.
And so, clearly he was throwing hard. He was, leading that field and leading in that throw when he was playing. And I understand he could have, gotten injured then. But also taking, I'm sure, a decade or more off didn't hurt. But it's still impressive what he's doing here at the age of 50-something. That's insane. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I thought I heard him say that he's never had an injury like that, and he can teach others to throw forehand some different way so that they don't get injuries as well. So if you're into that, please, by all means, go check out Stokely's clinics and such. Maybe he can shed some light on that. That's nothing you're getting here.
I think the big point is also that it's crazy to think our game has evolved very much from when you and I, got introduced to it 25 years ago. No, hardly anyone except for Scott Stokely. Of course, people have always thrown forehand, but let's be real. Scott Stokely was like the main forehand guy that, everyone looked up to. And then the game very much evolved into you needing it, like you absolutely needing it, with the rare exception of James Conrad winning Worlds for the most part, and Cale LaVisca, doing what he's done. For the most part, you've needed that forehand backhand combo, at least a serviceable forehand. And you look at Ricky's and Paul's and everyone else that has a really good one. Of course, they're even more often they're winning. And now, I don't want, like you just said, I don't think people are going to second guess and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to throw a forehand, ever again. Look at the problems it's causing. But you have to wonder if players in general, you said Gannon Burr, in general, just reassess how much they want to lean on it. But it's probably hard. A hole sets up for a forehand. You look at hole 8 at Jonesboro, that plays the elevated pin. It bends from left to right, and there's already a left to right crosswind. Just popping out a little forehand and letting it pitch right to the basket seems like the no-brainer. I mean, because it is if you've got the shot. The question is, do you, or hole 6, do you forego what feels like the much easier shot because you're just trying not to throw forehands? I mean, you and I will never be faced with that question, Johnny, because we can't throw one for our life depended on it, if our life depended on it. But it is a interesting, consideration for sure.
It certainly is. Let's talk about someone who can throw pretty good forehands. Kristen Tatar is a phenomenal forehander, and she crushed not just forehands, but an entire field of FPO players. She handily won, shooting the hot round all 3 rounds. Kristen Tatar shoots 24 under par. She shot an 8, a 6, and a 10 under par.
Not in that order.
No, not there.
Right?
It was backwards. I
10,
read
10, 6, 8.
10, 6, 8. I read them backwards. I was clicking on the third
Because I was
round.
thinking in my head, she shot a 10, a 6, and an 8. So when you just said that, I was like,
No, I
doesn't
was
sound right.
I was
But
going
yes,
I
all
was
three
going
were
backwards.
there. 10, 6, and 8.
It
Yep.
is
Which were the hottest rounds, tied
Yeah.
or outright the hottest round each of the 3 rounds, which is incredible.
she just a phenomenal showing. I don't know what to say other than she was much like Calvin. Everyone kind of felt she was due. She has been up in that podium area for a very long time, and now both of them get their win. I don't know what to say about this particularly other than she dominated. There was no question on the final day that she was going to walk away with it. By about the 4th hole, everyone was kind of like, yeah, she's still got it dialed. Don't sweat it. Because we have seen the FPO field can get a little volatile, and we've seen 5, 6 strokes be given up any particular round. That wasn't happening with Tatar. But you could just tell after, like, I think it was the 4th hole that you're like, yeah, she still looks like she's got it. Nobody else is going to make a move on this particular course. Some of the more surprising things that I think we saw was second place was Missy Gannon on a course that we just said seems to favor a little bit more of a distance thrower. Missy Gannon is not known for that. Missy Gannon is known for her putting. Missy can probably pump out 350 feet when she needs to, but that's not her forte. She's a 300 to 325 foot down the fairway player, and then put it in the bucket when she needs to putt. So she took second place here, shooting a 14 under par. Third place, we see Ella Hansen and Kat Murch, both big throwers in the FPO field. Both, this is Ella's probably her best showing in quite a while. Maybe even, I think she took a third last year or the year before. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to go back and look, and I'm too lazy. So.
Yeah, I mean, her other big performance that really jumps out is her performance at the U.S. Women's Nationals last year. I believe she was runner-up, or maybe she missed her last putt to take third at U.S. Women's last year. And at that point, no one was catching Paige Pierce, no matter how many capes or any other superpowers that you might have. No one was going to catch Paige Pierce there. So Ella Hansen kind of had a breakout performance specifically at the U.S. Women's last year.
Yeah, I feel like Missy is the odd woman out because, again, Kristen Tatar throws far. Ella Hansen throws far. Kat Murch throws far. 5th place, Holland Hanley crushes a disc. Katrina Allen throws relatively far. Paige Pierce throws pretty far. Your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 women, 6 of the 7 of them might be our furthest throwing women in the sport, other than Jen Allen. Jen Allen probably has you there. And it's so, no arguments as far as what the course loves. So congratulations, honestly, to Missy Gannon. I know congratulations to Kristen Tatar, but congratulations, Missy Gannon, on bucking the trend. So that's nice to see.
I mean, I'm not exactly calling her a short arm. Does she not stack up quite as well against some of those other women? Yes. She doesn't throw necessarily as far as some of them, but
any of the 6 other ones I mentioned. I also
don't think of her as a short arm either.
No, I don't think she has enough distance for FPO. Like, she's throwing about the same as probably Valerie Mondajano, Elisa Fakis, Alexis Mondajano, Sarah Hokum, Stacey Ronsley. She probably matches up pretty evenly with all of them. But again, the other women that were in those top ones have 50 to 75 feet minimum on Missy when they want to. And so that's I don't consider her a short thrower. I consider her an accurate thrower and a great putter, which is hopefully, and I haven't looked at the stats, is probably what helped her particularly get to the top, the consistent drive and a good putt. So I did just rattle off a couple of the other top 10. Like I said, Valerie Mondajano continuing her great play this season. Lisa Fakis, as always, is a solid contender. Haley King coming out and shooting in 10th place, tied with Alexis Mondajano. So congratulations to your top 10 there.
Yeah, and someone's asking on the board, where has Heather Young been? Heather made a public post a couple of weeks ago now, just saying she's going to pull herself off of the tour for a little while. I think she, wants to reevaluate exactly where she is, what she's doing, how she's going about it. But she did make a public posting, I'm going to say about 2 weeks ago now, excuse me, stating just that she was stepping off of the tour. I was going to say away or off, whatever you want to call it. So that's the update there. And then I think the other big question out of all of this, and maybe some of these questions will arise at the Dynamic Disc Open press conference tomorrow, but Haley King, you would think she would have a distinct advantage at that course as well. Obviously throws far, and then has kind of like the ultimate long range putting, more so than most of the women that beat her, in that she just seems to have more success or looks from circle 2, or good bids from circle 2. And it, she's been a little bit stagnant this year as well.
Well,
And I
she's
think
still relatively fresh, so to speak, on tour. She skipped the first half of the tour, Haley King did. She came back at the Champions Cup. This is really her second event on tour. I'm not concerned about Haley King. I think in the next event or two, you'll probably see her pop up into that podium area. And especially now that we see a lot of the Europeans kind of, not that they were taking up podium spots other than Tatar, but we see Kristen Tatar stepping away from the tour for a few weeks to go home and get some much needed rest. So that might bump everybody up a few spots. So
yeah, so we'll see what will go down. But congrats! I think obviously big takeaways. Kristen Tatar, just dominant performance.
Awesome, phenomenal.
You have to think that when she's now, not that I ever doubted it, but she's just really put a stamp on it and proved to the world, like, hey, not only am I good, but I can be on a whole nother level. And that's clearly where she was for the weekend, was on another level. To win by that much and to be that consistent and to battle the elements, like there was just so little wavering in her or her game. And that's got to be scary. And to know, sure, she hasn't picked up a bunch of wins so far this year, but that doesn't mean she's not just ramping up. I mean, she rattled off like 4 wins in 5 attempts after Worlds last year. So look out, FPO is all you can really say to it. So pretty cool. Congrats to her. Congrats to Calvin. And obviously, by and large, at least from my perspective in Bend this year, which is the first time I wasn't on the ground, congrats to Jonesboro for putting on yet another incredible event. It seems like that just continues to grow, and the love for it and the course and the spectators, it all just continues to be trending in always in a nice, I was going to say a nice slow upward climb in terms of getting better and better every single time. And their floor was already pretty high, so their climb just continues.
Yeah, Tatar averaged like 1,008 or something for this event. So
yeah, that makes makes perfect sense. And real quick, Bradley says, "Are you happy you were not on the ground?" I'll say this a bunch of times. I love doing both tasks. I enjoy being on site. I enjoy being there and in any given weekend with the players, interviewing the players, press conference, seeing them afterwards. Like, I enjoy all of that, and I enjoy giving being there for the champions interviews and just all of the stuff that goes with being on site, and then hopefully providing some insights from the sidelines. And I also enjoy being in the booth. And I almost wish I had a really hardcore preference one way or another, but I don't. I mean, sometimes it's a little more event specific than others. I'll say this was the first time I wasn't in Jonesboro, but I know that course so well because the previous 4 or 5 or 6 years I've been on site and been walking the course. So I felt like I was so comfortable being in the booth. Now, usually I know the courses anyway, but it was almost another level of comfort being in the booth this weekend because I intimately know that course so well. So yeah, we'll see.
Tim Courts asks, curious how the new Supreme course is going to play. And Mo had said that he thought that the course was going to get shredded. I said it'll probably be like every other course on tour. You're going to see a couple players hit double digits. You'll see a whole bunch of players probably at -7. And then a majority of the field averages around -3. Like, that just feels like how every course plays these days. They're all difficult, but you see one or two players always hit double digits in most of these places. And it's really hard to make a tough course. We all thought W.R. Jackson was a heavily wooded, very difficult course, and we saw players popping off double digits there without, leaving some on the course.
And it is. It's heavily wooded and very difficult. They just still found a way to shred
everybody these days is so good that someone is going to shoot your double-digit round on virtually any course you hand them. Maybe the exception is Northwood Black, but that's that's an extremely difficult, grueling, long, awful course to shoot production on.
Yeah, so it I can't project or predict either one of them as to what we'll see. The winds can be up, and there's a ton of OB out there. I ultimately walked the entire course today, and I'm so thankful I did. And I say that because I was expecting a little mashup of other holes that I've seen. And I mean, there's a few pins that are in the same spot, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily came from the same spot in terms of getting to it. And yeah, there's a lot of property. Let's put it this way. There's a lot of property there that people have never seen before. Unless you've played an event on Jones West or you've been out here before, there's a lot of space and property that have not been in play before. And so that's going to be kind of cool. I have to say, I think my favorite hole it's one of the shorter ones at 300 and some feet, 316 maybe. I think it is as well. I feel like maybe it's intentionally the exact same distance as the hole at the Country Club, hole number 16. It's right around that distance, and it looks almost identical. I feel like they were going for, hey, let's recreate this similar island type green shot out there at Jones as they did at Country Club, and it's uncanny how much they're alike. Now you have a much bigger backstop, and you can throw almost anywhere over, but it still has a very similar look and feel when you're standing in front of it. So I thought that was really cool.
It's cool to have a signature style, a signature hole for your event, not just one hole that you can match as a signature, but it's the signature hole on each course. I mean, I think that's kind of awesome, and a nice symmetry between the two of courses.
Yeah, so we'll see how it plays out. I didn't look at the pars, quite honestly. I know when I got to hole 2 and I see it's 1,000 feet, I'm like,
it's a par 2.
Then I got hole 3. 3 is this really cool looking hole that includes a water carry or a layup. And then I was walking down the fairway of 4, which also feels like it's like 900 feet or something like that. And I was walking down the fairway with Matty O because I just kind of zipped through the course, but I ran into a bunch of golfers in doing so. And Matty O, we're walking down hole number 4. It's maybe another 6, 7, 8, 900 feet, whatever it is, 700 feet. He's like, man, I think I've had enough. Like, dude, you're on the 4th hole. Like, you have a long way to go. And hole 1's not even that long. It's only 291 feet. Yeah. He's like,
that could be good or bad. I mean, if you're, and again, I haven't seen the course yet. I'm excited to see it. Eric McCabe designed the course between the two Jones, East and West. It's now the Supreme. If it's long and it doesn't do anything for you, I could see at hole 4, you're like, all right, dude, I've had it here. Or I could see it if it's long and difficult. You're like, all right, man, I've had it here. I don't need any more of this butt whooping. I don't know. We're gonna find out though. I'm excited to see this new Jones
I am
course.
excited to see how it plays out, and then if what adjustments do or don't get made for Worlds. But I'm definitely excited to see someone saying on the board that EMAC had maybe said that a 10 under. I'm guessing if that's what I saw a -10 pop up. I'm guessing that's what maybe he's thinking is going to be the hot round. I know the event has put out hole flyovers with EMAC probably commentating them all. I didn't watch them. I would have had I not gone out and walked the course myself, but I may even zip through those as well online yet again, just to get any other understanding or perspective that he might have had. But yeah,
do we bounce
we'll see
the schedule? I haven't. Forgive me, I haven't looked at the schedule. Do we bounce between the two courses? Do we go Jones?
No,
EC.
I believe. I think is as I had said to Calvin, and I'm thinking he doesn't know much more than I do. But I believe it's Jones, Country Club, Country Club.
Well, then
so it's 2 at Jones and then 2 at Country Club.
I'm going to amend my statement saying someone's going to hit double digits, because if and we're going to say if here, the weather sticks to what it looks like it's going to do, if it's really that windy and rainy on that course, you might be looking at a 6 or a 7 as the best score out there. That could be so we'll see.
Knows?
But again, that's all weather dependent.
It could be a 13. Who knows?
I know, Terry.
It'll be interesting to just see how it plays overall. This is obviously the stiffest, most competitive field that's taken to the course. And so I think there'll be some data and some other numbers and things to pull from when we're, either down 1 or 2 rounds or through 1 or 2 rounds of it. So I wanted to quickly touch on, somebody asked about it anyway, but quickly touch on, it was a lot of fun. I did have the opportunity to play the newest course, the newest 2-hole course over at Bevel. They have mounted 2 baskets in the back in a designated area, and then Val and her mom and a number of others actually constructed an 18-hole loop. So they're pavers or markers, and then it's all on U-disc, and you go out, and it's a putting course. And so you kind of, do a figure 8. Thank you, Ryan. You do a figure 8 as you play around one basket, and then you kind of swing over, and then you start working your way through the second basket and playing all 18 of the shots. And you play it out like regular golf. You stand there at the paver, you putt, and then obviously you got to make your putt and continue on from there, and then you count up your strokes. We played in mob golf, I think you would call it. I think there was like 8 or so of us that played on Sunday night, and it was a lot of fun. And just a big shout out to Nate and Val. Every time I travel out there, they're adding more to Bevel. And so having this putting course, I mean, clearly the entire bar is disc golf themed, light fixtures, tables have, world champions and Hall of Famers on them. And it's all adorned with all of this incredible, disc golf stuff. And you can buy discs. They sell a ton of discs out of there. A lot of people come there shopping for discs. But to now officially, and they have putting nights and putting leagues, but now that anyone at any time can go out there during hours and, entirely and putt all day long. There's some people that I think were out there for like 6 to 8 hours, I heard, during one of the days, and just constantly playing this little fun putting course. So big shout out to them. They're just doing incredible work along with their entire staff and crew. It was awesome to see it.
That's good. I look forward to the day I can get out there and check out the place.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. All right, Johnny, do we have any other news before we shut things down and maybe jump into an after show? Do we have any other pressing news here from this week?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I've replaced you in your spot over here with some venting, so it's just sitting in your spot right here, Terry. I hope you don't mind.
What is over there?
It's now some venting, some HVAC vents. So sorry,
oh, sweet.
I'm going to build a Terry robot with some of these. I'm going to call it my Terry bot, and he's just going to sit here right next to me.
Good call. A couple of things I will quickly touch on. The pro panel is tomorrow night. I was just trying to pull up the website, dynamicdiscopen.com, and real quick as I'm looking at it, not very clearly, but tomorrow night I believe is the pro panel. I think they're that looks like an old virtual players meeting, or maybe it's this year's. I'm not sure. They have the Die Academy going on again this year. I know that's up and running. There's a million flex starts, which I'm genuinely frustrated with myself that I didn't think to bring some discs, because either today or tomorrow, I might have actually forced myself to go out and find one of the flex starts to quickly play in,
What
and I didn't. I just flat out
do,
forgot, didn't even think about it.
do you
Yeah,
really
so
need your own discs? Let's be honest, Terry. If you went out to one of those shorter courses, you could probably just say, "Give me something overstable, give me a decent putter, and probably and maybe a mid range, and you could go out and more than
maybe
likely shoot."
I hate playing in anything that's semi-serious or semi-truly competitive and not having. Now, could I grab some discs? Yeah, I probably could, but
I do
I
per-
didn't. Yeah, I don't have mine,
personally, I
so
would do it anyway, but
we'll see what tomorrow looks like schedule wise for me. Um, Maybe there's a chance that I get out and play a little golf. Probably not, but there's a chance. You never
just
know.
jump on with Calvin,
I
show
will
him the
say,
course.
you're in Kansas. When I drove from Wichita, which was, by the way, the new smart move that I don't want to tell everybody to do, but if you're just going off pure efficiency, what almost everyone does is you fly into Kansas City. In the past, that's what I've always. Well, if I fly, it's into Kansas City. This time coming from Bend, I went into Wichita. It's about the same distance, but it is stress free. So to fly into the Wichita airport, which I'll say is like the size of the Madison airport in Wisconsin, it's pretty small. Very quickly got my car, very easily jetted over here yesterday. It was awesome. But my point is, when you're in Kansas or in the area, when from the highway, from the interstate, I think I saw 2 different courses back near Wichita. This is from the main interstate. And then as you're pulling into Emporia, you see the Jones course. I think you can see the country club. My hotel, just outside my hotel window, there is a permanently installed basket, I believe, outside of one of the hotel windows. Not super close to me, thankfully, but there's a permanently installed basket that's just outside of the hotel room. And everywhere you look in Emporia, there's a basket. If there's green space, I'd like to say if there's green space and it's not a yard, but even some of the yards out here have baskets in them. But if there's green space, there's probably a basket at it. I just, I know it's their tagline, Emporia knows disc golf. They're not effing around. They seriously do. It's everywhere. So it's just such a cool environment to come into this town and to come here and to just be yeah, to have disc golf completely supportive and engulfing you and embracing you. It's awesome.
I'll talk about. I just thought of something. We'll talk about it in the after show real quick.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna just say again, congrats, Calvin, who joined us. Thank you, Calvin, for joining a little earlier, coming straight from the skins match. Congrats to Kristen Tatar. Congrats to Jonesboro and Brad and the crew and everyone else and all the hard workers on DGN and DGPT and everyone else that made it all happen. And then with all that, looking forward to what we're going to get here at the Dynamic Disc Open this week. I expect nothing but an awesome time with plenty of extracurriculars and then largely a world's warm-up, as so many people are treating it. Calvin and others treating it as just that. That's very exciting as well to know we're going to be back here in the end of August and beginning of September. So I'm looking at almost exactly 4 months we'll be back. So take your notes now. If you're playing fantasy, if you're going to Vegas and placing bets, make sure you're paying attention to what's going on this weekend. That might make you a little bit smarter for a few months from now. Or you won't. It won't. I don't know. And as we close out, I want to just quickly say, of course, thank you to the couple of people that jumped in with a little bit of super chats, but it's been a wild ride, and we didn't have anything special specifically or planned or whatever for tonight, but it's been a wild ride to know that 400 different times we've sat down, usually together. Some nights I've been gone, some nights Johnny's been gone, but 400 different times we've sat down and talked disc golf with you guys. And the more I think about it, the more that just sounds utterly crazy and ridiculous, knowing that an average show plus after show, they have to push about 3 hours on average. And to think about the support and the community that we have live, and then the thousands and thousands of people that download and listen in an audio format, the Patreon supporters, the giveaways, the people that have supported us in terms of sponsorships. We don't really actively promote or go after them, but some people insist on supporting us. I can't say it enough. It's been crazy. I mean, and if tonight was 400, that means only 390 of them have we been a little late to open the show. So thank you. Thank you guys so much for everything. Johnny, you got anything to add to that?
No, just thank you to everybody. I mean, it really is amazing. And to think that I would tell people that I did a disc golf podcast years ago, and they're like, is there really enough to talk about every week? and even people inside of the disc golf community would say that, like, really, a whole 3 hours, huh? Disc golf. And I'll tell you what, almost every show we end, and I think, oh, there was that one more thing I wanted to talk about. So it's an honor that people do sit and listen to us for this amount of time, and I can't thank everybody that Terry had said enough.
Yeah, it's to see so many others jump in, and we know we're not everybody's either favorite or we're not everyone's cup of tea, and that honestly, it's taken a while to get there, but that's totally okay too. Every podcast, every combo probably, hits a little different, as the kids say. And that's fine. We know that we're here for you, to give you usually some fun, laid back interviews with so many of our top performers, but also so many other influential people that might not necessarily be taking it down on the leaderboard that given weekend, but are still doing wildly impressive things. And just thinking back to you play a couple weeks ago with Zoe and Dustin and Mark, it's what we love to do, is share that love and spread it around, and get all these insights, and hopefully occasionally we break some amazing news and have some exclusive information for you. And it's the more I think about it now, the more I really do think 400 nights and episodes of doing that seems just wildly bizarre, but you guys have been along with us, and we can't say it enough. And our live chat is part of what makes it so much fun. I feel like week in and week out, is having that interactivity with you guys, and you guys spilling more ideas and information to us that usually lengthens the show even more. So yeah, for the 100th time, thank you guys so much. So we're going to close it out. We want to say thanks to Kelvin for joining. Again, congrats to everybody. Looking forward to an incredible DDO week. My channel, the Disc Golf Guy, might continue with some nightly shows. We'll have to see how the extracurriculars go and what everyone's schedules look like. But you just might find some nightly shows over on the Disc Golf Guy channel. I make no promises, just like here. I make no promises if they're there, what time they'll be at, or how consistent they'll be. But they may happen, so we'll keep you posted on that. For Johnny and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, Smashbox podcast number 400 officially in the books, but it wouldn't be complete without an after show. So we'll see you there. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 400th after show.
Show
Oh, holy cow.
400.
Oh, show 400. Good evening, everyone. Here we are. It is the DDO Dynamic Disc Open week, and I gotta say, as always, I'm excited. I know in the regular show, I quickly touched on being in the booth and also being on site for some events. And this is one event in particular that I feel like I always want to physically be at. There's an extra excitement. There is an aura. There is just an overall feel and vibe, and truly community and atmosphere that this event has built up over the last decade plus that makes it a little bit more special and unique. And they're not shy about entertaining you or finding entertainment for you to do. And that's part of what makes this week so incredibly special. So super glad to be here.
Yeah, I am definitely missing it. I know last week I had said I was going to try to possibly get out there, and unfortunately, for me and my family in general, my wife is running a very big fundraiser for her work this weekend. And so having me out and gone would not have been conducive to a great family environment. And I have to stay home. Otherwise, it would have been very nice for me to get out there. And again, I don't miss many events, like miss being at many events. Most of the time I'm pretty happy to walk out of the studio, get in my car, and 15 minutes later I'm at my house playing Catan with my kid. This is one of those where I do miss it a little bit. So maybe what I'll try to do is I'll get there for Worlds. We'll see. Hopefully,
yeah,
get something figured out. But that's definitely weighing on me a little bit.
There's a little different. Now, granted, I just got here yesterday, so I haven't seen everybody. My primary focus today was to go out to the course, and then I had to get a few other things done. But this year they had cut out, I believe, the age protected divisions. I don't believe we have Pro Masters and Pro Masters age players here, and that was certainly we'll say a hubbub a few months ago when that was announced. They still, I guess I should look. They still have, was it more than 1,000 players here when it was all said and done? I'm sure. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount.
Some ridiculous amount. Yeah, it's just incredible how many people are here. And then it's also interesting to think about, this is going to have a different feel and vibe than what we're going to have at the Worlds, simply because at the Worlds, it's MPO and FPO, so to speak.
And that's it. Yeah.
Right. So it's not, all the amateurs that are possibly here now. Maybe a lot of them will be here as spectators in some capacity, but yeah, little bit different feel and vibe. And at the Worlds, and we see this year after year, during the Worlds week, it's so much more serious. You're there to win a world championships. Not that winning this title in this event isn't a big deal. The Worlds are definitely on a different level, though.
I'm just saying that since I stopped going to world championships, they've gotten way more serious. So if I come to Worlds, maybe we can lighten the mood up. We can get a couple players out for a few drinks, have some dancing, some fun. There's a definitely, correlation there.
Yeah, you should start that campaign. Johnny V brings the fun back to the Worlds. That it sounds like the campaign. There should be T-shirts.
Oh, there will be, my friend. There will be. I'll be giving them out to all the spectators and VIP passes. And
speaking of T-shirts, I'm hopefully going to get a design finalized through the scheduling and whatnot. It was just kind of finally officially announced by myself in the last day or two that I'm going to be hosting again the Skyline Classic. If you're regional to the Wisconsin area for disc golf, this is probably a little bit more impactful, but many of you know I dwindled my event running and tournament directing down to about 2 events a year. And the one right after Thanksgiving, the cold turkey that we reference and talk about a couple times, that's easy. It's a weekend after Thanksgiving. There's never really a doubt. I'm not competing with any other weekends or any other coverage for any other events. trying to schedule back in October or November, trying to make the schedule for when I could run an event in, we'll say April, May, or June in Wisconsin is damn near impossible because there's so many big events that I'm obviously contracted to work, whether it's live or some other post-production. So it was very much up in limbo as to whether or not I was going to host the event. But as of a couple days ago, I realized with certainty I am not scheduled to work the OTB Open, and therefore I will keep myself planted in Wisconsin and then host, along with a few other helpful people, host the Skyline Classic. So this is much later than I would want to announce it or finalize it, but it will be taking place May 21st and 22nd. All the amateur or the rec, novice, juniors, and intermediates will play on Saturday, and then every other division will play on Sunday. So wanted to throw that out there. Again, I know we have a lot of kind of regional smashies, but just know those details are going to get released in the next few days. So that's what I'm working on. Because, yeah, when I'm not covering 40 tournaments a year, I should probably just run a couple more.
Why not? Why not? I did want to give a shout out what I mentioned before the normal show ended. I wanted to give a shout out to MVP Steve, who is stepping down. He's leaving disc golf. He is
really.
He really is. He made a post out there and saying that his time as the marketing manager for MVP Discs is coming to an end. Everyone's on good terms, but he has found a different position with a different company. I don't know. He told me what it was. I don't know if he's publicly told anyone what it was, so I'm not going to say without looking at what it is. But just that it's good, and if you want to support him in any way, he does have like a Kickstarter out there. I think it's a private little thing he does for a card game, some sort of engine building card game, and you can do that. But just a shout out to MVP Steve, who has always been an absolute pleasure to deal with and talk to and work with in any capacity. So he had mentioned someone who's taking over his position. I think they're promoting from within. So that's awesome for MVP, and they're in good hands. But we'll miss you, MVP Steve. Definitely.
Yeah,
Mr.
most
Steve
certainly.
Holloway. So just
that is genuinely news to me.
I think his last day is the 29th. It might be that Friday, the 29th. So I'm not 100% sure. He announced it at the end of last week, I believe.
That's why I always come to you for all my disc golf news, Johnny.
As you should, Terry. I mean, you might have the inside player scoop. I've got the not so inside promotional back end of disc golf company scoop, apparently. So, and if you're interested, Terry, you're in Emporia. You could apply for the social media marketing position that DDO opened last week as well. So,
ooh, I don't think I'm qualified for that.
You're probably not. You're not qualified for a lot, Tara. Let's be honest.
Talking
about disc golf is the peak qualification for you, and probably me as well. But yeah, so I know they put a job posting out there, and it was kind of funny. And obviously we love DD, but there was a few little funny pokes and jabs about Bobby Brown and how you had a guy and this and that. So I just I got a kick out of that. So shout out to Bobby. I don't know if he's going to be in town this week. I know he's still got a house there. So, but he might be Airbnb.
Yeah, that I'm uncertain of.
He might be Airbnb that to other golfers this weekend and making some cash.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm now just seeing exactly what you're talking about, and it's a lengthy post out on Steve's page. So, I mean, I don't know. He strikes up a deal with Steve Dodge, and then bolts.
I mean, he's got 3 days left. He could strike up some pretty crazy deals if we really pushed him.
I was gonna say, we should definitely hit him up for some serious sponsorship.
Yeah. So how would you like to sponsor at $1,000 a show, MVP Steve? Just sign off on that one, and let's
just get that in writing right away,
including back episodes, and we've got to get those 400 paid for somehow.
Yeah. All right. Well, of course, congratulations to him and best of wishes. He has been and everybody deals with different manufacturers for different reasons in different ways. But yes, as you said, Johnny, from any professional capacity that we've ever had to work with Steve over at MVP, he's always been such a easy, straight shooter, great to work with, and knowledgeable, and everything else. So they are definitely missing out by having him move on to whatever he's doing. So, all right, good to know. So that may change, the tone of the phone call, when I reach out to him in a month or something about it. Like, yeah, never mind.
Well, the funny
and
thing
also,
is,
speaking of,
I found out because like a couple weeks ago, everyone has known, I'm looking for like a permanent basket in my backyard. MVP announced that they have some new modifications to their permanent baskets. And I sent a message out and I said, hey, I know they're really hard to get right now, but you know a place where I could get one? And nothing. It was crickets. So I'm like, oh, all right, well, okay, MVP Steve, I guess you're too cool for me. And then like a couple weeks later, I messaged him again. I said, hey, maybe you didn't see this. And maybe it's one of those, and I even literally said, maybe it's one of those things like not your job to know maybe where I can purchase one. I'm not looking for anything special, just where I can buy one maybe. And then that's when he responded to me and saying, oh, hey, FYI, hey, dummy, I'm leaving. No, that's not what he said, but he
yeah.
So that's how I got notified of that. And it was literally within minutes. He made, I think, the big public post a couple days ago about that, as far as things. So him and I had a little conversation, but that's literally how I found out, because I was asking him for insider information that maybe other people didn't have, so I can get myself a basket.
Well, it's time for him to spill all the secrets. Also, in thinking of Steve, and I know, of course, they had the big announcement with Steve Dodge and Maple Hill and the MVP Open and all of that recently. Along those lines, I have teamed up with Steve Dodge and will be part of the collegiate event that he is putting on in a couple of weeks. And without butchering all the details, I will just say that we're going to have a couple of college teams represented. They'll be playing out at Maple Hill. Myself, along with Matt Graham from over at the Nick and Matt show and all the other incredible stuff that he does for Disc Golf Network and beyond, will be joining me as well and helping out. So I saw it posted out there. It is on May 15th, the Maple Hill Invitational, national champs. Huge thank you. Yeah, he's going to have, oh, wait, let me scroll down. Oh, I don't know, just by looking at these logos, that's way too tough for me. There's a bunch of, colleges. See Drexel, UMass, WPI. I don't know what all these colleges are, but there's going to be a bunch of college teams representing. They're all going to be at Maple Hill for the Maple Hill Invitational that will be college themed and based. I think, like a lot of other Steve Dodge's ideas, he was sitting around watching television, and in this case, he was probably watching coverage from the collegiate championships a few weeks ago. It's like, hey, I can put my own spin on that. I've got some ideas. And next thing you know, we're covering disc golf at Maple Hill. So sounds like a pretty solid thing to be doing, and looking forward to it. All right. Johnny, I'm going to read a few things off the board. You could probably start getting our one of our many giveaways all
sure.
prepped up and ready to go.
I can.
I'm going to read a few things off the board, and I'm feeling a little bit. I think it's some kind of allergy thing. So if you sounded me a little bit nasally,
you sounded that way on the broadcast in Bend as well. I swear to God, I was sitting on the couch and it's on in the background, and I turned to Sarah, my wife, and I was like, Terry sounds a little congested. And she looked at me like, really? Like, first of all, how do you know that? B, why do you care? And all I kept thinking is like, I've listened to the guy for years and years. I'm like, he sounds a little congested to me. So
yeah, there's some care. Allergy.
I did.
I feel like it's something allergy related that is creeping in. So I went and got some stuff for it today. We'll see if that ends up doing me any good or not. But I'm feeling it, and for that reason, I'm also feeling a tad tired. All right, I'm going to read some stuff off the board. Wait, what was the big announcement? I don't know if there was a big announcement. Moments ago, we were talking about Steve Halloway leaving MVP. That he made a public announcement on, and then Steve Dodge recently made an announcement about having the Maple Hill Invitational, which is a college-based event on May 15th. If it was anything outside of those two things, I'm not sure what you're referencing. Josh says, "What up? I want to see Kelvin throw for MVP." As we said, Kelvin's in a final year of his existing contract. Does that mean he'll continue with Innova after this year? Of course, possibility. Could he go elsewhere? I mean, let's be real. He's
Just
clearly
throwing
got
them
the
dollar
skill
bills
to throw
around.
anything. Disc Blaster says, we don't need extra disc golf content anymore. It's not 2017. Okay. I mean, that, the best thing about free disc golf content is you don't have to watch it. If it's there, you can watch it. And if it's not, or if it's there, you don't have to watch it. You got options. Hey, Dion, hope you're doing well. Looking
Dion out
forward to
there,
digging a little bit more into Statmando here soon, personally.
Yeah, talking with some of the guys at
figuring out how the Discord
Statmando.
work.
Talk with
What's that,
Evan. I said I was talking with Evan at Statmando today about some fantasy stuff and this and that, and they've got some updates coming. I can't spill any beans because they wouldn't tell me. They gave me a couple hints, but looking forward to some of the new Statmando stuff.
Okay,
it's all on commentators. So how many times you make a mistake, Terry? How many times you interrupt your co-host? The quality of your interruption, was it worth it that you did the interruption, or was it just a really bad call that you made? I mean, these are all things that Statmando is now going to keep track of. Hope you don't mind.
I'm all about it. I'd love a little more feedback for what we got going on. I would take that in a heartbeat. Paul says, doing great, and your hair looks amazing tonight. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I'll take that all day. Could they modify World's layout after DDO if they feel it's scoring too high? Short answer is yes. And I don't know if it just is about scoring too high, so to speak, as in scoring. And I don't know if you mean if it's scoring too well or if it's scoring too easy or not hard enough. I don't know, too easy or too hard. I'm not sure. Either way, though, yeah, absolutely. Let's put it this way, and this is just for the sake of example and making stuff up. If there were 3 holes out at, we'll say, Jones, that ended up averaging 95% par, they will change the hole. Or if there's a hole that averaged, well, in reverse, in other words, averaged 95% bogey, they either may change the hole and or they may change the par. So those are things, and they may shorten it, they may lengthen it, whatever the case might be. I think it's fair to say that if there are any holes that don't produce the scoring outcomes that they're generally predicting and expecting and looking for, then it is well within their range to be able to change it. Now, I'll say specifically, because I walked the course today, I think you'd be more inclined to see a pin position moved, a distance on a pin, or a location to be moved. They put in an incredible amount of work to have these ginormous, very immaculately landscaped and looking tee pads. I don't see a lot of tee pads moving out there for the Supreme layout. It's much easier just to simply move a basket. So that's what I'll say about that. The other thing I will say, there are many holes out there, and I took note of this, that there's a lot of holes out there where the tee is the exact same for men or women, and they have 2 pin placements. And same idea. It still gives them that option. They may get to a hole and say, hey, with the pin in this hole, it generated 92% pars. Maybe we actually just consider the men's and the women's pin the same, and the scoring works out better that way. I mean, there's truly unlimited things that could happen, but most holes have a single tee pad and then have multiple pin locations deemed for FPO and MPO. So that's what I noticed out there, and that will all get taken into consideration. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Nate Perkins was great on the course this weekend. You asked him a lot of questions, and there weren't many times he didn't respond. Yeah, Ray, and I'll be the first to say, to specifically address that, being very aware of where he's at, being the style of course that he's on, those feed into some of those successes. Having incredibly good signal throughout the entire weekend is probably the utmost importance. And then last but not least, maybe the fourth point to that is we seem to be pretty dialed in on the best equipment game plan that we can. And I made a joke earlier on Facebook. Somebody was talking about the success rate or how the commentating went this weekend in the debate group or something. And I said, I think we're on like iteration 839.27B in terms of the various attempts we've used. We're just trying to get it dialed in. And so with me being an on-course commentator for part of the year and then being in the booth for part of the year, I feel like I have the I don't want to say the most knowledge, but I'm probably most in tune with how and when that can be most successful. And then Nate Perkins just killed it. I mean,
he did.
Let's just, it is what it is. He killed it. Now, I think back to WR Jackson. There's times would maybe get called on and I wouldn't even hear it because there was no signal. So I actually didn't even hear it. So clearly I'm not answering something I don't hear. There's also times where I may have been really close to the next tee or the next pin or a nearby fairway and couldn't really speak, even if I did have something to say. And then there's times where I would hear it, I'd go to answer, I'd click the button and it wouldn't work. So again, we're getting it more and more refined every time. And me kind of playing both roles, I think sets us up for a little bit more success because then generally I have an idea of where Nate is and what he's doing. And like we said, Nate just killed it. Every time we called on him, he was what seemed to be in the right place and had the answer almost every single time, if not every time. It was great.
Well, and that's
the only
that was one of the things.
Real quick,
oh yeah,
is that there's a delay that is fed in. So Nate hears me and he tries to answer as quickly as possible, but there's always still a little bit of a delay. And I understand, as some have said, that can sound or feel a little awkward. It's something else that we're trying to adjust and mitigate as best as we can. But for now, that's just part of the process.
I had mentioned, because somebody had said how great of a job they thought you did in the booth, and then how great Nate Perkins was, and it was saying like, oh, this is the combo we should have all the time, something along those lines. And I had kind of echoed what you had just said, how this was there's a lot of the reason why Nate succeeded and where it felt like you had failed on being an on-site commentator is because the position of Nate. You are not at WR Jackson. If someone calls on you when a disc hits halfway down the fairway and, we can't tell, that's because you're three-quarters, you're almost always three-quarters to all the way down the fairway. So you might not necessarily see what's happening halfway down the fairway. That is an instance where you should not call on Nate because he's not going to be in the correct position because you in general know where he's going to be. So you're not going to put him in a position where he doesn't, not that he doesn't know the answer, but that he can't get the answer. And
yeah,
and so that obviously helps with the broadcast. Knowing Ian and Philo have never done sideline reporting, so they don't necessarily know the flow of it. They don't necessarily know where you're going to be, as opposed to you being in the booth and then throwing it to Nate, setting him up for success, and then he just you lobbed the ball to him, and then Nate drives it out of the park with his commentary. I mean, it's a perfect combo. So based on what we've seen.
Fit.
It's perk fit. All right, wrap it up, boys. That's it. It doesn't get any better than that.
I wanted to get it in this weekend, and I just didn't, but I did think of it one morning at 6 a.m. waiting to said, oh, it's perk fit. It was, anyway. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate any, kind words. Like I said, Nate did a phenomenal job. To be fair, I also feel like sometimes what helps just the overall process click. I, again, personally know the Jonesboro course really well. And so even if a question needed to be, or I wanted to ask something about the course, it could be skewed in that sense that I could make a clarification because I get it just helps. And so we had that advantage going for us. And like you were saying, it's funny, I didn't think of it that way, that Jackson provided so many more obstacles and challenge that were, dare I say, unseeable or tough to determine. Whereas Jonesboro is so much more. I don't want to say it's not just easy and wide open, but you really, really get as long as you see where the disc lands, you probably have a really good idea as to what you need to comment on from there. Not that wasn't so much the case at the W.R. Jackson course.
And
So.
I think that, I mean, again, we're always refining. I think I've mentioned to you off broadcast that I would love it if the flow between you guys and Nate was a little smoother or cleaner. That you're
Or
not
shorter.
No, not necessarily shorter, but that you can maybe throw it. And I know it's difficult because Nate is obviously hearing all this stuff in his ear, and he's got to be able to discern when you're calling on him, especially when you're calling on him versus Doss. But I felt that some of the throws were a little, maybe you're right, maybe a little windy, a little long-winded, in that, hey Perkins, what do you think is the right call over here for Paul to do at his lie? And a lot of that is you are giving him the ample time to be like, oh, they're calling on me, I'm going to pull out my microphone, I'm going to unmute it, I'm going to talk, as opposed to you saying, hey Nate, what's he got there? And then it's like, oh crap, they called on me, I need to quick get this out, causing the delay to feel even longer. I wish that there was a better way, and there's not, because you kind of need to call attention to Perkins on the course and give him a second to make sure his equipment is ready, as opposed to, it would just, I hope we get to a point where it feels a little smoother interaction as opposed to what feels like you setting him up. Okay, now is the time for Nate.
That's exactly it.
And I understand. I know the technical, difficulties. You know them. Nate Perkins knows them. Nate Doss knows them. All that stuff. You just got to be quick. But it was a little. I did feel like it was a little long-winded at times with some of your questions, or maybe what you asked him. And I know why it is. I'm just, we're more so just now preaching to the people in our listening area, just as to why that is the way it is. But anyway, it's crazy.
Let's be fair. Some questions are, I'm not going to call them scripted. Some questions are a little bit more pre-thought out, in the sense that, like, hey, I know on hole 6 it's really muddy near the green, so I could throw that to him just about at any time. And so we have a communication of, hey, when we get to 6, I'd like to talk about how muddy the green is. He can say that to me, and I can say that to him. It once again helps that I know the course pretty intimately as well. It's the quicker interactions of, oh, is that out of bounds or not? Like, he needs to react almost instantly. He's not necessarily expecting to get called on or not. And so it's all about some of the flow. And I know Paul or something or other out here is saying how, there needs to be a producer. I mean, there is a producer, and, a producer can help line up and or remind that, we have each other as tools, but there's still also the onus is on me to some degree. If it's going to be a little bit more spur in the moment, I don't need somebody always reminding me every hole of, hey, this is available or that's available. It's just a matter of, does it fit? And to be fair, we have a whole nother layer of challenge, which is, I may have a great question for Nate, and Nate may have a great response for me or for us, but we need to go show what just happened on hole 7. And we need to go show, the rollaway and then the huge comebacker that happened on 14. We're showing that in replay. And so discussing something that's happening on hole 2 sometimes might feel a little weird if you're then watching somebody doing something on hole 9.
I might have said this on the broadcast last week, even that's like, I can see Mo pulling his hair out now virtually when we have something lined up, like, okay, we're going, it's been communicated to probably everybody but Terry at this point. We're just waiting for Terry or Nate to maybe take a breath so that we can kind of interject, like, hey, we're going to go to a replay after this. But in the fact that you're talking, suddenly it'll naturally just be like, oh, let's talk to Nate Perkins about this. And sometimes Mo will hold off on a replay, like, oh, now we have to hold off. Like, I got to get this in. I got to get this in. Sometimes we'll play it anyway, and again, that's the killer part where it's like, hey, or there's always like a weird slight delay where we'll play something just as you're calling on Nate Perkins, and the timing just doesn't work out. And it's like, oh, crap. All right, well, now Perkins is going to talk about the green on 6 when we're looking at the drive on 7 from the next tee or something weird like that.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. It's a small company broadcast. Obviously we always do our best and we'll get things situated, but those are funny instances where I know it's just like, and I'm sure the viewer is thinking that too. Like, why are they talking about this when we're on another shot? Sometimes you got to get the shot in, or sometimes it's just a matter of bad timing. So, Terry, we do have good timing for some Patreon giveaways.
All right. Yeah, and as you're getting into that, just the last point on that is we share sometimes this type of information just to give everyone a little bit more understanding. And nobody should ever really take this as excuses or towing a company line or not, or whatever the case might be. This particular podcast on Tuesday nights sometimes just allows for us to hopefully shed a little more light, because the one thing I'll say, and this can be said probably of almost any industry or a lot of people around the world, the things you're saying and typing and thinking probably have been said, thought, or acted upon by us. Not everything. Clearly, we haven't thought of everything. But just so people know, your thoughts very well may be in line with what we're already working on, or dare I say, what we've maybe tried and what has or hasn't worked. And obviously, we're all trying to improve and grow and get stronger and better, faster, all those other things. But just know that everybody at some degree or at some level is working on that next fix, or understands this frustration or that one. And hopefully, and I feel like anyone that's watched us for any length of time knows that we're just trying to provide a little additional insight, pull back the curtain a little bit. We can't share every secret and every detail, but if we pull back the curtain just a little bit, hopefully that gives some reassurance of like, hey, they know and they care, and there's people working on that. That's what I wanted to say.
Anyone that knows my online persona, and my real life persona for that matter, but online, that asks me a question about the broadcast, you want to get me to not shut up, ask me about the broadcast, because I love to talk tech. Right now, NAB is going on in Las Vegas, which is the big broadcasting convention. Charlie Eisenhood is there right now, and I am extremely jealous that he gets to go to NAB. He's gone, I think he goes every year. I just keep track online, all the different blogs and kind of what's being released. And is there anything that could help disc golf? Like, oh, there's a new online switching software. Maybe I'll kind of peek around on that. Or Amazon is doing this. One of the big news this week was Google is now opening up their CDN so that you can use Google to distribute your stuff. Basically the same backbone that YouTube uses. You still have to build the front end. You have to build all that stuff, but other companies can now maybe use Google as their content delivery network, their CDN. You can do the inserted ads, all that other stuff. So Google just announced that yesterday, I think, that, hey, guess what? We're open for business too, guys. You can build your video products on our cloud, as well as Amazon has it with their they do the same thing you can do with Twitch. And I don't know if anything's going to come of it, but I look at that stuff all the time. So again, you're going to get me to not shut up about something? Ask me any question about the broadcast, and I will get way in the weeds with you.
Did I start this?
You did. No, somebody else did. But in general, yeah, there's not many secrets that we keep, and people can call them excuses. I call them reasons. Here's a reason why we do this. Is it an excuse? Probably of some sort, but anyway. 185, Terry. 185 people are eligible for a Patreon giveaway this week.
Whoop whoop. Well, thank you guys so much. I am a little behind. There's no second guessing that. I am a little bit behind. I did have a conversation with yet another manufacturer in addition to the ones that are here today. So hopefully we'll get even more stuff up and running for part of our giveaways. Um, I'm ordering some stuff. I've got, like I said, the event, all sorts of things going on. But thank you guys so much for supporting us via Patreon. Johnny, I think in I don't know what the word is. Words are getting tougher here. Number 4. Let's go with the 400. The
400th
number in what's the word I'm looking for in relation to today's 400 times, I don't know.
Sure. The
fourth number.
The 4th number. All right. So we are going to generate our 4th number. I sorted them by first name. So there's that. The first number is 30. The second number is 44. The third number is 66. Terry, are you going higher or lower than 66?
Higher.
The 4th and final number for our winner is 73. You were right, but just barely. 73, so somewhere in the middle. Let's take a look at that. Yes, 73 is Herbert Monholland. Congratulations, Herbert Monholland.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's a name I don't recognize that we've given something away to before, and he's been a active Patreon supporter for quite a while. It looks like since late 2019. So Herbert, congratulations on your Patreon giveaway. You'll get an email from Terry at some point asking for your information. Terry will get you something fun. So thanks for being a Patreon supporter, Herbert Monholland.
All right. Well, appreciate that. Again, thank you to anyone and everyone that is supporting us via Patreon. That's, as the cheesy term goes, that's what helps keep the lights on week in and week out. So we very much appreciate it.
Patreon's gone? Oh no. All right, no, maybe not. It's gone. Visual gag for audio listeners. A visual gag for our audio listeners.
Yeah, it was, and I'm not even looking at you on screen, so I'm going to assume it was amazing.
Phenomenal, Terry.
All right, so I'm going to read a few more things off of the board, and then, believe it or not, I'm going to cut out of here pretty soon here. I just saw. Oh, Paul R again asked, and Paul must have clearly some background in video production and or broadcasting by a couple of the comments that he's made. But he says, have you guys ever considered delaying the final 2 groups to have more control of the flow?
We already do that.
We've been doing that for 5+ years. Clearly, it's had various iterations throughout the years. Sometimes a little bit more of a stark contrast, sometimes a little bit more subtle. But yes, usually the last group or 2, and I'll just make up some examples. If every single tea time throughout the day goes off every 12 or we'll say every 12 minutes, the last group might go off 20 minutes or 25 minutes before the second to last group did. And the second to last group may have gone off instead of 12 minutes, maybe went off 18 minutes later or 20 minutes later. I don't know. Again, I used to be way more involved with that 5 years ago when our crew was like 4 people deep, and now there's 38 people plus. And so I don't exactly know how all the exact details work out in every event, and every course is probably a little bit different. But the long and short of it is, yep, been there, done that, doing that. You are on the right track, and we already in some capacity do that.
At DDO this week, tea times are every 10 minutes. And then the second to last card is an additional 4 minutes. So we got 14 minutes. And then the final card is 16 minutes. So where we normally do 10 minutes, those last 3 cards are about a half hour spaced. It helps give a little bit of extra room for not just cameras, but also spectators and all this other thing to be able to manipulate around. So yeah, we already kind of massage the numbers a little bit. And, depending on who you ask, competitive advantage. I think we talked about that last week.
And we've heard that for many years, especially when we first got started, hearing that the latter cards, the latest cards of the day, sometimes would have that break in hoping to reduce or eliminate waits for them, because somebody would say, well, wait, the third card might have to wait on every single hole because of the backups. And by the time you're the lead card, and if you started a half hour later, so to speak, you're eliminating those and your flow goes better. How is that fair? That's absolutely been an argument that's been beat to death throughout all of these years, for sure. And there's pros and cons to it. So we don't need to beat it to death anymore. But it sounds like it's maybe the window, the cushion is maybe a little bit more subtle than it used to be, but just know that it does happen to some degree. Seth says, I'm a DGN subscriber, but always use YouTube to watch on the final day because I can easily pause, replay, and fast forward in the app. Would love the DGN app to do those features. We hear that. We agree.
Everybody.
It's unfortunately, it's right now it's a Vimeo. It's certainly not a setting or a choice, so to speak, of Disc Golf Network. It's more of like a setting, well, not even a setting, more of a limitation over there by Vimeo at the moment. So,
and we've
understand that.
We've heard for like the last year and a half that Vimeo is working on a new platform. I don't know if it's a new player, but a new back end that should hopefully help with some of these things. It'll help with faster transcoding times, which is, basically when we stop the stream on any day that it's not on YouTube, and let's say you're a half hour behind, suddenly your stream stops, you don't get to watch the last half hour until after it transcodes. And when it transcodes, it basically makes a half dozen different versions of all these different sizes and versions, so that if you're watching on a mobile phone, it's optimized versus your TV, all that stuff. Apparently their new system is going to help cut those times down, or maybe not even, or make it so that it doesn't happen. I can't say for sure because obviously I don't know what their software is. Crossing our fingers by fall that we'll see something like that, but as with anything, it's software. We don't know what it's going to do. I'm hoping that they come out with a new player as well that gives us those opportunities, because it has been discussed. It's been talked about. We all know that the $1 billion Google YouTube playback experience is better. I mean, that's what you get as opposed to Vimeo. And there have even been talks, not serious ones, but talks about, well, do we find a way to offer this on YouTube for the first couple of days? Because I know YouTube has the join feature where you can pay for subscribers. And the problem with that is then you have you can't do the PDJ discounts. You can't do pay-per-views. You can't. There's so many things that you can't do with the all-in-one Google thing. And they take a bigger cut of money. They take like 30% of whatever your thing is. So now you're offering a higher. You'd have to, in theory, charge people more for that YouTube access than you would for the DGN access. And some people might be cool with that. Some people might go, well, what the heck? I have to pay $15 a month versus 11 or 12 or whatever the number is. I don't know. I'm making up numbers. It gets to be very hairy, but just know that everybody knows about it. We've all thought about it. We all want the same thing. We want the best viewing experience for our users.
All right. Moving on with a few more questions here. It says Terry and Johnny V, might SmashBoxx or DG Guy cover the Tim Selinsky Masters in September in the Quad Cities? That's a good question. I don't believe there's talks of covering it live. I'm pretty sure Disc Golf Network is not. That would potentially leave the Disc Golf Guys post-production channel to be possibly involved. I need to follow up with the PDGA. I know the PDGA is working out contracts with the likes of Ace Run and Gatekeeper and GK Pro and Jomez or whomever for various events. And I did have a brief interaction back and forth about some events that my channel could certainly assist in. And I don't recall if that was one where they needed help or we're still looking for help. I'd love to be involved if I can physically be there, because I'm not doing something with the network, then I would be. And if I can't be there, then my channel could still potentially be there with a couple of my cameramen. So long and short of that is I need to follow up with the PDGA and see where things are at, because that being a PDGA major, they oversee all of the media plan for those events. They could delay lead cards and they'd still get caught up. That's true. Somebody also said something about a TV timeout. We used to take those way back in the day. In fact, we all the time used to tell a player, and I awkwardly was usually the one that did it, where I would be like, hey, nope, we're on commercial. Yep, nope, don't throw yet. Okay, Paul, you can throw. Okay, James, you could throw. Like, those were some awkward times, which got better. But oh my gosh, the fact that we're no longer doing that is, to me, is I can't even tell you how many leaps and bounds it's been from where that was to where we are now for a multitude of reasons. So
Well, and that's amazing that I remember back in the day when we would, we had these forced commercial breaks, almost every hole. You'd have a commercial break, a whole preview, whatever, that Paul would get to the tee and he'd turn to you or be like, "Are we good? Can we go?"
yeah,
Like, because he knew that we had these set commercial breaks and he didn't want to get up on it or make it awkward maybe for somebody else. So Macbeth would just kind of, no. And now we don't have that. We don't have anyone stepping on the tee and just being like, "All right, we got to wait just 30 more seconds, guys." They go and we figure it out on our from our perspective. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'll get to the YouTube chat in a moment. Somebody else, stupid idiot on the chat says that's his or her login. I hate how every fifth comment in the FPO stream is just asking when MPO starts. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I get it, but yet the sheer, like, if you were diligent enough to find the FPO stream, I know you can click buttons, or you can maybe even just speak into your phone and you arrived at it, or your TV and you arrived at it. I don't want to go off on that yet, but yes, I agree. That's just one of the many things that's out there that's annoying. And then also someone said,
I was gonna say, and I used to fight for, back in the day, having YouTube chat. Like, I thought it was a great add-on. It wasn't always the best, but it's such a good community that used to be there. I think with the explosion in the sport, like anything, the bigger the volume, the bigger the jag-offs. And unfortunately, at this point, personally, I would not care if they just disabled chat on the YouTube stream. Just flat out cut it, because it does provide some fun and good talk, and it's pretty amazing, and everyone loves to be able to communicate like, "Wow, check this out. That was awesome. I can't believe Paul did that," or Ricky or Calvin.
But they don't.
But there's, some people do, but there's so many that just don't. And I would rather see more of a private chat, like someone had mentioned. Open a Discord, have a DGN Discord where you can have a live chat stream, and then it just gets cleared out or something, or create a channel for each event that people can go to participate in the chat, so that you're not getting your typical YouTube. If just adding one extra step into it makes such a difference, I think, sometimes for people that can't just easily jump on and be a D-bag.
Yeah,
so, that's just my personal
I'll try to keep it short. The YouTube chat, as again evidenced this weekend, and I know it's no different than any other weekend, is just short of effing pointless and an absolute waste of, I was going to say, data. It's disgusting. It's so terrible. And I'm going to go out on a limb and think that every single person that's watching or listening to us right now, you're probably, I'm going to say with like 99 point something percent certainty, not the problem. The other people, as in the other 99%, of course, I'm not paying attention to every single, post or anything, nor should I be. But, and again, I get it. There's this community aspect that feels good. As a community, we're sitting and watching it. The conversations and the tangents and the sheer point, I'm going to say pointlessness, which I know is incredibly subjective. People arguing about, I don't want to just say the dumbest shit, but it is.
Sometimes it is.
Like, people. Here's a great example. People arguing about what drugs are good or bad during that chat, and it's not so much, I don't care about a drug conversation. I just feel like it's so incredibly useless then and there. And it's not because I'm trying to protect disc golf. It's just so irrelevant. Like, you're going to get online and argue with strangers about how good or bad coke or meth or pot is. Like, that's what we're doing during the course of this event unfolding, and watching people argue about that. Open forum, sure, I guess. I understand free speech, blah blah blah. I get it all, but the tangents and the sheer uselessness, and then that's just like not even scratching the surface of the outright misogyny and the bigotry and then just the other rude and hurtful things that are said. I just think why does the disc golf community need to embrace and or provide
We
this
don't.
platform for it to even happen? That's where I stand. You want to argue because you hate this person or that style of person and you think these drugs are great and you think this is what we should be doing politically. Like, I'm good with all of those arguments. It's just, for me, it's a matter of time and place. Go start that thread on your Facebook thread. But I was so annoyed watching most of the chat. Now, if it were 95% good, I don't even want to say positive, just like somewhat pointed, relevant, useful, any of those things. But why? Why are you arguing about the validity of or the comparisons of meth and crack or whatever your comparisons were that I saw the other day? I don't know. I get it. So many people want to be all about free speech, and we all know. Yes, you have free speech in this in the country. You are not free from consequences. And just because it's free speech in public doesn't mean it's free speech on every platform.
I
And
just
and in how you can't understand that is also mind-numbing to
and
me.
again, just it's to me, it would be there's plenty of places to chat these days. There are plenty of places to chat.
Go start up your own fight somewhere else.
Well, I'm just saying, just disable the YouTube chat, and again, open up a DGN Discord. Cool. This is our live. If you want to chat, just come to the Discord. That's fine. And it solves a couple things. Again, it adds that one extra layer of pain in the butt for people that just want to come on and cause trouble. Cool. You want to come on and cause trouble? You can come in and cause trouble in the DGN chat, the DGN Discord. It's very easy to block you and get rid of you. I don't even so much care about like the offshooting of different subjects. If you and your buddy want to argue the best truck out on the market on a disc golf network board during a YouTube chat, I don't care. And Paul had made a point that he's like, well, it's, it hurts the marketers might see that. I don't even think that's necessarily it too much, because if you look at any major esport live stream, you're seeing a bunch of toxic people out there, and it doesn't seem to hurt their particular advertising.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think that's it. It doesn't help, but ultimately, you've got, it's a numbers game. If you have enough numbers, they're not going to care if it's toxic or not. They want the eyeballs. But just add that extra little hurdle to make it not as easy. Plus, then you avoid a lot of things like the garbage bots that show up every once in a while and just post a bunch of emojis or try to get
friends.
You to go. I know they're your friends, Terry. I understand. Trying, you go to all the websites that they recommend and
yeah. I mean,
only if
there's a bunch of hearts and X's and O's that
those are the best ones, Terry. The best. In general, I think that is a thing. And I don't necessarily know. I'd have to look at like if there's a user limit in Discord, or if you have to pay at a certain point. If it's like 5,000 people, there might be a limit to that. But just, it would be very simple just to create a channel. And then on the broadcast, maybe every once in a while, or just pin something to where the chat is like, if you want to join chat, here's the link. And people have to go to a different spot. That's my personal take.
Yeah, and I somewhat look at that as you going on to somebody's Facebook page or wall and vehemently like starting up a fight and trolling and fighting with them every single time they make a post on their wall. And I kind of feel like, have all the conversations you want. Have it on your own wall then. Start it there. But if somebody else doesn't want to read it on their wall, then they can easily just block or delete you or do whatever they want to do. If you want to have these conversations, maybe on your own wall is the best place to do it. Yeah, I don't know. I get it. Disc Blaster, I get it. We all get it. You are like at least a 9.5 out of 10 when it comes to trolling. We get it. And you want all of your freedoms or whatever you think you want. You want to call me a gatekeeper or a moderator? Sure. I'll own that all day.
Oh, I
I don't
loved
think
moderating. Like I'm glad I'm
yeah,
not a moderator more.
I'll own
I
that
loved it because
title all day
zero.
long.
I had zero issue just banning people. If you even said something even remotely that I thought could be taken as offensive, I banned you. Boom, you're gone. I had zero tolerance.
Oh, there's nothing that fires people up more than
Oh.
other people getting banned because they want to scream about their free speech.
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was my favorite thing, but yeah.
That's fine,
so
Disc
fun.
Blaster. You can continue to think we have an idiotic take.
Boomer take.
We're
a boomer.
Your takes
We're
and
old.
you're just gonna get banned. No,
yeah,
no,
we've yet to ban you, Disc Blaster, and you've been trolling us for years.
Isn't that crazy? Again, like just because you can type it doesn't mean somebody else should have to read it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to say you can scroll past it, like whatever, I'm done arguing about it. Or discussing it. Open Doors Network also has a real problem with it. That's fine. Like
turn off the chat.
That's just the thing is like you don't have to like someone else's rules, and just because they're what you like doesn't mean somebody else has to follow those rules either. I mean, it really goes two ways, right? Some people think everything should be open and you can say and do whatever you want, and too bad. And some people say no, that's not, and those are their rules. Yeah.
Unfortunately, as Open Door Network says, free speech is hard. This isn't free speech. Sorry, this is not freedom of speech. This is not free speech. You don't get to say whatever you want on my platform. Sorry. Just like, and if you want to go down that rabbit hole, Terry likes to mark dates and times. We can mark today's podcast as Twitter was bought by Elon Musk. He just paid $44 billion for a platform for Twitter.
Real quick, because I've paid half attention to it. Has he had an issue with the quote unquote censorship there? Was that part of his like?
Yes, a little bit. I mean, even though I don't think he's ever been censored on Twitter, I like Elon Musk. I think he's done a lot of great things for our society. I think SpaceX is phenomenal. I think the Tesla is pushing EV cars into places and forcing other companies to push that technology. But he's also kind of a little trolly on some things, and I think we're going to find out, or he's going to find out very soon. A lot of people are out there like, oh my God, finally we're going to have open free speech on Twitter and this and that. And my favorite thing is, I hope they show us all the algorithms that are, suppressing our free speech. And it's like, nobody's doing that. I think we're going to find out, or he's going to find out very quickly how difficult it is to moderate a huge social network, not just in the US, but worldwide, because the laws that are here are not the same laws in the EU, are not the same laws in China, are not the same laws in South America. Everybody has their own take, and it's going to be... I posted this on Twitter just a couple days ago. I said, I'm really glad that I sold my Twitter stock a year ago for more than what it's going for right now, because it's a lot more fun to watch what's going to happen on this network when I don't have a financial stake in it. when I'm not thinking like, oh wow, this could really tank the little bit of stock I own, or oh, maybe it's going to shoot up if something dumb happens. My opinion is I'll wait and see. I don't think we're going to see a lot of huge changes. You're not going to suddenly see all this free, unadulterated speech. Again,
but anyway, again, it's like every other platform. It's like every other platform. They still have their rules and their terms of services and terms and agreements and conditions and everything else. And I think we've seen that. The wild west of just saying and doing whatever you want. is there any platform on the planet that truly operates that way? Like, I can't imagine there is one
That just
platform that genuinely has 100%
oh no.
open, yeah, there's just no way. Anyway, if
No,
there is, I'll tell you,
every
it's definitely not a place for me.
no, I think no matter where you are, even the worst places on the internet have some sort of moderation. Some sort of moderation. You know, even the
Yeah,
places with the
it might be
worst
at a
takes in the
very
world.
tiny threshold, but yeah, they have
Or they're moderating
some
something that like most people would consider, you know, solid. If you go to some website that is some racist website and you go on there and be like, I like people, I like all these people, they might moderate you for saying that. You know,
exactly. I guess
it's
that's
just
kind of my
it's
point.
just
Yeah.
a different threshold, a different perspective. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know. There's, yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to be racist or bigoted or a terrible human in some capacity, that doesn't mean I have to let it get posted. If that makes me some kind of a gatekeeper or some other political term you want to throw at me, that's totally fine. I don't know why there's such a hard time for people just to, I don't know, respect other people, but we don't need to worry about it. All right, Johnny.
Let's get off our soapboxes. You got stuff to
I don't
do.
know if I don't know if we've solved all of the world's problems yet tonight or not, but we always have next week.
I should have them all
Yeah.
figured out by next week. I think the world's problems. So just sit tight.
Exactly.
I've almost got the equation figured. I'm just real close.
Somebody did ask, did we have an update on Eagle? No, other than what he's posted to his social. I will generically state this moving forward for him. Your best bet on Eagle, and sometimes I'm 100% up on it, sometimes I'm not. Your best bet for Eagle updates are almost always going to be Eagle's Instagram. Like, and he's all but said that himself. That's where you're always going to get the most up-to-date information with regard to Eagle. The last thing I saw him post was saying that he was going to he's got a plan in place and he's going to just try and get healed up and work with some professionals. That's the last that I saw. Does that mean 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years? That's to be determined, but that's the last that I saw. What Packers wide receiver are you taking, Johnny V?
Oh my God, I don't know. I read some rumor that there might be looking at getting Darren Waller as a tight end from.
Didn't we just get a new receiver recently that
Yeah, we got
was news? No?
Sammy Watkins showed up, but he's, you know, if you sneeze in Emporia, he might like roll an ankle in Green Bay. So
Oh,
I do not have a lot of faith in Sammy Watkins at this point. He's a little injury prone, but I don't know. I mean, he's a solid, decent middle of the line wide receiver. So I don't know. We'll see. The draft starts. The NFL draft is on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe. So
ooh, don't they know the DDO is going on?
I believe they scheduled it. They scheduled it for the night so they don't interfere with DDO.
Ah,
So they're. I mean,
well, I'll make sure
the
to work
NFL's
all
smart
those
that way.
draft updates. I'll work all of those draft updates right into my nightly podcast.
As you should.
Very eloquently.
Speaking of draft updates, real quick, Skip Ace just dropped a couple new updates. Some player notification signifier to let you know whether your people on your team or free agents are playing in this upcoming event, so you don't have to constantly check the PDGA page and scroll up and down and try to find a name. There is a couple new pages that lets you see players, some player stats. There is a transaction page for your leagues. You can see what everybody's doing. You can spy on them and see if they're adding or dropping people or putting people on their bench. And then, of course, obviously, there's the big stats for premium members. You get access to all the behind-the-scenes stats that we don't give to the non-paying people, the peasants, the plebes.
Seems awfully, yeah.
It's
seems like some kind of class system.
Oh, it is. It is. You if you pay me, I give you the stats that you need to win your league. So all you have to do is pay me like $10, and you will win your league. Is what I heard. I can't verify that, but that's what I heard.
Does Eagle work with Hannah Macbeth or other trainers to help him with preventative work and post? Yeah, Eagle works very closely with Seth Muncie. And then I think literally a slew of other, I don't know how many you need to make up a slew, but a slew of other people.
At least 5?
Not specifically with Hannah Macbeth. Hannah Macbeth, I don't think does any formal, um, what's the word? Any kind of, yeah, Hannah's not doing anything of that nature, I don't believe, with anyone in any formal capacity, but Eagle works with Seth Muncie and a bunch of other people from Disc Golf Strong. Haven't seen a lot from Seth Muncie on tour. Is he officially a DGPT employee? I believe he's either an employer or just officially contracted for the whole year. He's at every event. So if you're not seeing him,
Follow Disc Golf Strong on the socials.
Yeah.
Because he's there.
So, all right. Well, we're gonna close out. Open doors, all good. You've got your point. I got mine. It's all good. I hear you. I would love to see. I'd love to see a little less hate and vitriol and everything else spread within our chat board, because otherwise, I keep thinking, like you said, Johnny, if that's going to make up largely what it's all about, then maybe we're better off without it. And if that means people that have to go find their own individual unique ways of chatting and communicating with others, then maybe that is just a good solution for it. Might be
find a good community that you like, that of people that you are friends with or like-minded, or people that you just disagree with, and chat with them. I'm on like 3 or 4 different live chats usually regarding disc golf, sometimes before, sometimes after, if I'm not broadcasting, then during. So it's fun that way. We're not all they're not all carbon copies of me, unfortunately, because I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah. Have the crowd numbers at events that we've expected? How about, I don't know what expectations were in either DGN subscriptions or on site, but it seems like, I don't know, seems like everybody's going and enjoying a lot of good time. So, yeah. JVD, when you spend 30 minutes talking with them, you're giving away easy platform. All right, guys, we're closing it out. This has been SmashBoxxTV podcast 400s after show. I won't repeat everything I said during the closing of the regular show, but the TLDR version is thank you to everyone that's been along with us for this crazy journey, and we appreciate you guys. Dare I say, maybe we'll have 400 more, who knows, but it's been a wild ride. So whenever you listen to this, if you're a Patreon subscriber and you get this right away, you get it super early as part of being a Patreon subscriber, or if you're listening to it 2 or 3 days after the podcast had happened, regardless, we really appreciate you. And the community that we have is, by and large, almost 100% awesome, with just a few outliers. We appreciate you, though. For Johnny and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, we'll see you during the live broadcast here during the week of the Dynamic Disc Open. And of course, we'll see you next Tuesday night for SmashBoxx Podcast 401. We'll see you then when you step inside the SmashBoxx.